Hello, everyone. Omni-sensei here with What If I Was Reborn in My Hero Academia with a Mangekyo Sharingan, Part 3. If you enjoy this content, please smash the like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to check out the original story linked in the description. I hope you enjoy listening to it.
Moments later, Yuta and Hatsum stood alone now, the other two teams having moved on. So what's the plan? Hatsum asked, fiddling with a device on her wrist. We stealing points? Or going straight for the big one? Yuta frowned. Not sure. He'd given up first place specifically to avoid being the main target. Snatching the 10 million back would make that pointless. But going after one big target is more efficient than chasing multiple smaller ones. And Hatsum wants exposure. The 10 million headband is where all the attention will be. If we go after scattered teams, we'll get less screen time. He scratched his head. I gave up first place because I felt it would come with possible problems. Guess I was right. My speed gets restricted in a team format, so when the second battle came out, I was kinda glad. Makes sense. But I only realized we could do a two-person team when Midnight announced the rules. Hatsum tilted her head. So you didn't think this through? Not entirely. She laughed. I like you already. Okay, so here's the thing, if we're gonna make my babies shine, we need to be where the action is. And the action's gonna be around that 10 million. Yuta rolled his eyes. Her entire dialogue was focused solely on showcasing her inventions. She's not wrong, though. I didn't avoid first place because I hate attention. I need attention to get into the hero course. I just didn't want to be the target. If we're mobile enough. But I can do the same thing with other teams and rack up enough points to safely qualify. So which is it? The 10 million or not? His eyes scanned the other teams. Well, that should also work. He turned back to Hatsum. We'd have to time it right though, he said slowly. I don't want to have to evade everyone right from the start, so we'll bide our time and decide what to do when we get to that point. Either way, we'll safely qualify. Hatsum's eyes gleamed. I can work with that. Yuta exhaled. I can live with that. Alright, time's up. Midnight's voice cracked across the stadium. Teams, line up. Present Mix voice boomed. Wake up, Eraser. Aizawa stirred. Is it starting? Yep. After 15 minutes of forming teams and talking strategies, 12 cavalry teams are lined up on the field. Aizawa's eyes narrowed as he scanned the arena. There are some interesting teams out there. Now then. Let's light the signal and get this bloody battle started. In the field, 12 teams spread across the rectangular arena. Each assessing. Each strategizing. Yuta adjusted the dark goggles Hatsum had given him. You won't mind taking a piggyback ride, right? Hatsum grinned and hopped onto his back. Not at all. Strapped to Yuta's sides were various pieces of Hatsum's gear, compact, lightweight, and functional. Guess I couldn't escape the fate of being the horse. He surveyed the field. Though I'll take a pretty girl on my back over a guy any day. As he examined each team examined him in return. Just two people, huh? Todoroki's eyes narrowed. Probably to maximize mobility. Playing to his strengths. Beneath him, Sato. On his sides, Kaminari and Yaoyorozu. Keep an eye out, everyone, Todoroki said coolly. Some people might give us a hell of a surprise. Midoriya's team locked eyes on Yuta's duo. Alright, everyone, Midoriya said. Let's do this. Tokoyami's gaze didn't waver. Two people. Bold. Uraraka clenched her fists. We can do this. Ida nodded sharply. Agreed. TCH. Bakugo clicked his tongue, glaring across the field. Watch out for that one. He might become a problem. Got it, Captain. Kirishima grinned beneath him. Time to get serious, Siro said, excitement building. Mina, however, couldn't quite share their enthusiasm. She glanced nervously at the 10 million point headband tied around Bakugo's forehead. Yuta's gaze swept the teams one more time. Midoriya's team has Ida now instead of him going to Todoroki. Makes sense. He's not chasing first place this time. What was that? Hatsum shouted over the noise. Nothing. His eyes drifted elsewhere. Out of the other teams, there were two familiar faces meeting his gaze. Hitoshi Shinso. On his team, Aoyama, Ojiro, and another person whom he couldn't recognize. All carrying dull expressions. He should have had no problems forming a team. Turning to the second gaze, he quickly turned away as if seeing a plague. Ignore. Ignore. Humph. You think you can escape from me? Watching Yuta turn away, Hagakure waved her fist in indignation. Just wait. I'll get my revenge by stealing your headband. Hagakure? Jiro called out. Nothing. Alright everyone. Remember the rules, and keep the battle within the designated area. Midnight gave one final warning. The giant billboard displayed the words, on your mark, all right. You've made your teams. Now let's go. Begin the countdown to the brutal battle royale. 3. Everyone tensed. 2. Here we go. Yuta let out a breath. 1. Midnight swung her arm down. Start. Everyone immediately began rushing toward Team Bakugo. Like moths to a flame. A swarm of bodies converged on the explosive blonde, each team jockeying for position, calculating angles, and preparing quirks. Now's our chance, someone shouted. Get the 10 million. Don't let anyone else. Team Bakugo immediately went on alert. Stick to the plan and don't mess up. Bakugo yelled as they began running. Got it. The team rushed. Not away but towards the charging crowd. This better work. It will. Now charge. Sparks exploded across Bakugo's hands. Let's win this thing. The field erupted into chaos. The vast majority were going for the big number, and the rest were heading in the same direction because their targets were heading there as well. Yuta stayed exactly where he was. At the edge of the arena. Whoa! Hatsum cackled on his back, goggles shaking. Look at them go. Straight for the big flashy number. Hey! Shouldn't we be moving? Not yet. His Sharingan, hidden behind the dark goggles, tracked every movement on the field. Let's pick a target first. Plus, this was all new development. He wanted to see just how Bakugo would break through the encirclement. Plus, unlike Midoriya, Bakugo doesn't have that Hatsum's gear to go aerial. What will he? Just then. Boom! The clash happened. With collision imminent, Bakugo's palms shot out, creating deafening explosions to his left and right. Those reaching for his headbands were promptly blown aside. Barely stabilized by their teams before they fell. Out of my way, extras. With that, Team Bakugo broke through the blockade away from Todoroki's position. Yes. Mina put it into full throttle. Acid emerged from her soles, propelling them further away from the others. Damn it. Circle back. Don't let him get away. Every team circled. Bakugo. Up ahead. Kirishima warned. A team of 4 was headed straight for them. The lead horse looked to have the lower features of a skeleton. It's Class 1B. So what? Straight ahead. I'll blast them out of our way. Hearing this, Tetsu of Class 1B scoffed angrily. Humph. Let's see you try. Juzo. Right. The skeleton-mouthed teammate activated his quirk. He took a step, the earth moving forward, softening with it, expanding until it engulfed Team Bakugo. In an instant, the running team was trapped. What the hell? What is this? Bakugo. We're sinking. Get the headband. Damn it. Team Bakugo thrashed as the softened ground pulled them lower. How is this even fair? Zero yelled, arms flailing as he tried to tape onto something solid, only for the tape to sink with them. Bakugo, we're going under. Mina shrieked, acid hissing uselessly into the sludge. Kirishima gritted his teeth. I can harden and climb. I can. No time. Bakugo snarled. Sparks crackled violently around his palms. I'm blowing us out. Wait, if you explode us while we're sunk, boom. The eruption sent mud and dirt spraying upward, the blast partially freeing them, but sending the whole team tilting dangerously. They're open. Now, a Class 1B student roared. Several teams lunged. But right before they reached, crack. A wave of ice swept across the battlefield at blinding speed. Todoroki. Every team rushing for Bakugo froze mid-charge, boots locked into place, ice creeping up their legs. Only Bakugo's team managed to escape, barely clearing the ice wave as Bakugo blasted them over it, landing rough but mobile. Todoroki. Bakugo screamed from across the field, teeth bared. Humph. Todoroki exhaled cold mist. This is a competition. Expect interference. Yuta blinked behind his goggles. As expected from the top three, both of them are soaking up attention like magnets. Hatsum cackled. Oh, spicy. The powerhouses are clashing already. So, partner, what are we doing? Still waiting? Yuta shook his head. No. Time to move. He crouched slightly. Hatsum tightened her grip around his shoulders. Oh ho ho. Is it time for my gear to shine? Yuta sighed. Yes, Hatsum. Yes. Todoroki had frozen the lot of them. What better time to act than now? He steadied himself, flowed chakra through his limbs, eyes narrowing slightly, and kicked off the ground, or tried to. Whoosh. The propulsor cuff strapped to his calves ignited, shooting them forward in a sharp diagonal arc that left a trail of dust behind. Ho, ha. Hatsum screamed. They work perfectly. Damn. Yuta shot forward, eventually surpassing the team he had aimed at by a wide margin before pulling to a stop. Huh. Yuta took a second before he adjusted himself to the increase in speed. That was better than I thought. My babies are the best, aren't they? Can't argue with that. He thought, eyes shimmering slightly as he locked onto the next target. Alright then, hope you can hold breakfast. Are you kidding? Whoa. Yuta didn't wait for her to finish. He zipped towards the opposite side of the field, where three teams hung back, waiting for an opening to join the fray. For members, maybe 200 points total. Hold on. Wait, what are you, wow. Yuta's legs entered a rapid pace. Chakra flooded his muscles. The propulsion boots on his feet ignited. Whoosh, and the world turned into a smear of color. Wind roared in his ears. Hatsum shrieked with laughter on his back. This is amazing. 3 seconds. That's all it took. The Class 1B team didn't even register the movement until Yuta was already past them. One of them blinked. Wait, where did? Yuta's hand snatched the headband from their rider's forehead mid-sprint. Gone. Our headband goes. They spun around. Yuta stood 20 meters away, the stolen headband dangling from his fingers. He didn't look at them. Instead, he adjusted his legs where the equipment lay. Yep. Much better than I thought. He tossed it to Hatsum. She caught it with a grin and immediately wrapped it around her arm alongside their own. One down. Hey! Give that back. The Class 1B team gave chase. Not far away, Team Midoriya, who had been targeting the same headband, came to a halt. Huh. That's... Midoriya was stunned. That speed. Seeing the second-place contestant with support gear, Ida's eyebrows narrowed. Isn't it a bit too exaggerated? Uraraka shared similar feelings. Yuta spotted them in the distance. Slightly surprised, he then flashed them a grin before blasting away. Dust, a 1B cavalry group and Hatsum's exhilarated voice was all that was left in their wake. Though this was only the beginning. 20 seconds later, he zipped past a team aiming for Todoroki, swiped their 121-point headband clean off before they realized someone had passed them. Hey, what? Our points. 2. Hatsum crowed, securing the second headband. This is going to be easier than I thought. Yuta thought, already scanning for the next target. Third one. Northwest corner. This team was smarter. The 2 consecutive shouts meant they'd seen him coming, and formed a defensive cluster appropriately. The rider's body turned a green, sadly texture as he raised both hands, shielded his head and ducked low. He was quickly protected by the other 3 members. Don't let him get the headband, one of them shouted. Got it. We're ready. Yuta stopped. 10 meters away. Stared at them through the goggles. Ready for what? Humph, don't think you can. Whoosh. His figure disappeared, appearing right beside the guy before they could even blink. Ultimately, even Hatsum's gear couldn't match body flicker. The rider's voice cut midway as he felt a tug on his head. A second later, it was empty. No. Yes. Hatsum screamed in glee and soaked in the misfortune of her opponents. 3 headbands in under a minute. I knew I made the right choice. Keep going. The girl swept her goggles across the arena. Okay, next up, oh. Oh. Yuta followed her gaze. A 4-man cavalry team stood about 20 meters away. Monoma at the front. Tsuburaba on the left. Kozai on the right. Sen as the base. All 4 of them staring at Yuta, in absolute silence. Monoma's smile twitched. His eye twitched. Every muscle in his face twitched. Nope, he whispered. Before Yuta could even process it, run. Monoma slapped Sen's head like an emergency eject button. The entire team whirled around at once, nearly toppling as they accelerated to full retreat. Go! 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 I refuse to lose our headbands to that monster. Move faster, you fools. We're already at max speed. Sen cried. Tsuburaba shouted back, Monoma, stop screaming in my ear. Do you want to face him or not? They zigzagged like prey animals, running past other teams as cover. Yuta blinked. Well, can't say I expected that. He turned, noticing that others were paying attention to them as well. Looks like others are catching on. There were also the 3 teams he stole headbands from coming his way. The second team they stole from was carrying a pretty girl with blonde hair and deer-like horns and a large boy with beast-like features like the Beast from the X-Men. Hey! Give us our points back. Guess we'll need to pay attention to being hunted. He muttered before activating the support gear and blasting off. With more teams taking notice of them, gaining points grew harder by a significant margin. After all, Hatsum's gear meant fine precise turns were difficult. Plus the other participants had quirks and defensive strategies of their own. But that difficulty only lasted until he used body flicker. 3 minutes in, the 4th team lost their headband. Then the 5th. The arena turned chaotic. What is that speed? He's coming over. Focus. Don't let him take, AH. The more he stole, the more the crowd screamed. The more the cameras locked onto him. The more Hatsum gleamed with pride. Yes. Yes. Film him. Film all of this. Look at my babies working. Within 9 minutes, 7 teams had lost a headband to Yuta. What is happening out there? Present Mick's voice cracked with disbelief. The stadium was roaring. On the field, chaos still reigned, but of a very different kind than anyone expected. Those teams with headbands left scrambled. Not toward Bakugo, but away from Yuta. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't believe what I'm seeing. Yuta Akutami and Mei Hatsum, the two-person team, have stolen 7 headbands in 9 minutes. The scoreboard updated in real time. Team Akutami, 9 headbands estimated points, 1,850 plus. Aizawa leaned forward, eyes wide. On screen, the replay showed flashes of movement. His speed is absurd. Present Mike yelled. And that support course student's gear is giving him even more mobility. They're like a two-person hurricane. A speedy duo. It's 9 minutes in and they haven't had a headband stolen from them even once, while more than half the teams are hot on their tails. Please stay away. Please stay away. Hagakure pleaded as their team bolted. As one of the few teams left with a headband, they had long given up the battle for 10 million points and snatching from others. Now desperately trying to protect theirs. However. Duck. Everyone's expression changed as Hagakure dodged a tongue aiming for her headband. Azui. You traitor. They turned to see Shoji rushing towards them at rapid speeds. His arms formed a fortress that shielded Mineta and Azui so they could attack stealthily. Rib bit. I'm sorry, Toru. But our headband's been stolen and we need points. Shoji's dupli arms had formed a flesh fortress that was supposed to house the other two, preventing their headbands from getting stolen. Unfortunately, Ibara Shiozaki from Class 1B had stolen it by the 3rd minute with her vines, which had later gotten stolen from them by Yuta and Hatsum. Those two were nearly impossible to catch, leading to them having to change targets. Jiro's face changed. Run faster, Koda. Koda ran with all his might. An expression of pure panic marring his features. Sorry, girls. But not this time. Tongues and purple balls shot towards them one after another. Jiro's earphones jack blasted away as many as she could. However, it wasn't enough. Damn it. Koda's stuck. Seeing the purple ball on Koda's legs, Jiro's face turned grim. That moment was all that was needed for Azui to take away the headband from Toru. We got it. Good work. Shoji uttered. Be careful. We aren't in the clear yet. Let's. Whoosh. A chilling breeze swept past all of them. Shoji's eyes turned upwards, only to see 2 pairs of goggles flying over them. Pardon me. Hatsum grinned with an outstretched arm. I'll be taking that. The headband was grabbed before Azui could reel it in. Yuta's body did a backflip in the air. We can fly. Hatsum screamed in delight. Briefly. No. Mineta screamed. We stole that fair and square. Another one stolen, folks. The speedy duo strikes again with another headband in hand. 8 teams are practically pointless now. Yuta landed on the earth, then blasted away just as the ground softened underneath him. Damn it. Someone keep him in place. The chasing teams roared. Azui's tongue shot out and missed by a mile. Dozens of vines emerged in Yuta's path as he ran. He dodged, sliding over, under, and running up a giant wall made of them like a parkour expert before sticking a hardcore landing. Damn. This is exhilarating. I'll say. Yuta agreed with Hatsum. His blood boiled and his spine tingled. Constantly dodging and weaving from multiple opponents for so long had caused sweat to accumulate all over. I'm exhausted. That was for sure. But this is so fun. The grin on his face was full-blown at this point. It felt like playing tag, and everyone else was it. Today was the second time he had used his powers to the fullest ever since awakening in this world. But unlike the dangerous, life-threatening battle with Overhaul, he loved every minute of it. The exhaustion didn't come from much muscle fatigue, but rather, continuously channeling chakra through his injured pathways that had healed somewhat but not fully recovered was hard. But there was no way he was going to stop now. The crowd admittedly loved the spectacle. Their roaring was practically through the roof at this point. Eraser. Tell me what you make of this kid. Present Mike leaned forward, still half yelling into the mic. Aizawa didn't answer immediately. His eyes tracked Yuta, the sharp pivots, the clipped steps, the way he used the momentum of his gear without letting the gear control him. Not natural. Not random. Practiced. He's reading the entire field, Aizawa thought. His evasions aren't instinct, they're calculated. Choosing engagements, and somehow tracking dozens of threats at once. That's not normal for a first year. Kid's got good instincts. He's not just fast, Aizawa said flatly. He's processing the entire battlefield. That's what makes him rather hard to hit. Frankly, he's troublesome. That from him was extremely high praise. Present Mike hooped. You heard it from Eraserhead, folks. Troublesome. On the field, two explosions tore through the ice fog. Bakugo and Todoroki were locked in a vicious back and forth, their team struggling to maintain balance as debris and steam mixed into a chaotic haze. Bakugo heard Present Mike's announcement and snarled. TCH. That bastard's taken almost everyone's points. He blasted upward, forcing Todoroki back. Don't let that freak even look at our headband. Todoroki's eyes flicked across the field, seeing Yuta pass like a streak of color. 8 headbands, and counting. A small frown tugged at his lip. If he's gathered that many, he shouldn't need the 10 million anymore, but for someone who threw away first place, we can never know. His ice cracked under his fingers. No matter, we'll deal with it when it comes. He pulled back sharply as Bakugo dove at him again. In the distance, Team Midoriya was dodging while running away from the battlefield. Only 4 teams left with headbands. This isn't good. Ida responded sharply. Indeed. This will be difficult to handle if Akutami targets us. My straight-line speed is high, but my directional agility is, unfortunately, not on his level. He looked around. Many of the teams that had given up chasing Yuta were now turning their sights toward them. Worse still, Ida. Others have set their sights on us. It's normal. We're one of the few with points left. Team Shinso on the other end was experiencing the same problem. With the fierce battles so far, his teammates had already woken up, but none of them paid much heed to what happened and how their team was formed without their knowledge when their qualifications were currently on the line. Ojiro's expression was tense. They're closing in. Shinso's tired eyes swept the field. Keep moving. Don't stop. Aoyama whimpered. Mon Dieu. We are doomed. Not yet, Shinso muttered. Just a little longer. Wow, folks. To think the majority still with headbands are from Class 1A. Absolutely wild. Present Mike shouted. And we're down to the final 4 minutes. 5 teams hold headbands, 4 will advance, and everyone else is desperate. The next few minutes are gonna be insane. Don't stop moving. Bakugo bellowed, blasting aside a wall of ice. There's only 4 minutes left. Push through. Shiro and Ashido strained to keep balance. Kirishima hardened, bracing as Todoroki's ice snaked toward their feet. This guy. Bakugo snarled. I'm gonna, Bakugo. Look. Shiro shouted, pointing. Bakugo snapped his head sideways, and froze. Todoroki also stiffened, eyes widening. Because, every remaining team with a headband, every team without one, every desperate group in between, was turning toward them. Bakugo's team. The 10 million points. They came like a tidal wave. Are you kidding me? Bakugo shrieked. They're coming back now? After running away the whole damn time? He blasted a pillar of fire upward in sheer frustration. Even Todoroki grimaced. Not at Bakugo, but at the impossible pressure converging on them from all sides. Of course. With Akutami stealing everything else. We're the last easy target. His gaze sharpened. No, this is an opportunity. The swarm closed in, hands reached, quirks activated, Yaoyorozu. Todoroki's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. On it. Momo's hands glowed, and from her arms materialized a massive insulation sheet, lightweight but dense. Everyone, get under, now. In the distance, Yuta skidded to a halt on the far edge of the field, goggles glinting as he watched Todoroki's team huddle together. That formation. Momo's arms glowed. Insulation sheet. Yuta's Sharingan spun behind the dark lenses. They're going for a mass disable. He turned sharply. Hatsum. Yeah. It's time. Her grin widened. Finally. You mean? The big finish. Yes. She slapped a switch on the jetpack strapped to her back. It hummed. Ready when you are, partner. Now. Hatsum launched off his back, jetpack roaring to life as she rocketed into the air. Todoroki's team huddled beneath the sheet just as Kaminari grinned like a maniac. Finally. My time to shine. Kaminari, full power. Don't hold back. You got it. Electricity crackled across his body, building. Surging, indiscriminate shock, 1.3 million volts. Crackle, boom. A blinding sphere of golden lightning exploded outward, engulfing every team within a 15-meter radius. Screams erupted. Bodies convulsed. Teams collapsed, unable to move, muscles locked from the sheer voltage. Even Bakugo's team, caught at the edge, felt the brunt of it. Uchiha. Bakugo's arms spasmed, explosions misfiring. Can't move. Kirishima's hardening flickered. Mina and Sero collapsed under him. Their formation crumbled. Beneath the insulation sheet, Todoroki's team was untouched. Kaminari slumped forward, giving a dopey thumbs up. I did it. Good work, Todoroki said coldly. Momo immediately created metal rods from her arms. Todoroki grabbed them and slammed the tips into the ground. Ice surged from his right side, spreading, crawling, freezing every stunned body in place. The entire battlefield turned white. Teams were locked mid-collapse, encased in frost. Todoroki exhaled cold mist. Now. He vaulted off Sato's shoulders, skating across the ice toward Bakugo's frozen team. Bakugo's eyes widened in fury, but his body wouldn't respond. You, bastard. Todoroki's hand reached out. Fingers closed around the 10 million point headband. And pulled. Got it. Go, he ordered. His cavalry obeyed instantly, sprinting away from the battlefield as every other trapped team struggled inside iced-over prisons. Present mic exploded into commentary. Incredible. Team Todoroki just took everything from Team Bakugo. An absolute turnaround at the last minute. The commentary fell into his ears. Damn you. Todoroki let out a breath at Bakugo's hateful roar. Finally, we did it. Sato yelled with excitement. 10 million is ours. Momo smiled in relief. Todoroki, that was, her compliments of admiration for his plans had barely begun when a gust of wind blew past them. Tap. A hand tapped Todoroki's head. Time seemed to freeze. Todoroki turned sharply. Staring at him were two pitch-black goggles, a head of mousy red hair, and a slight smile of someone having the time of their life. Hello. Todoroki's hair stood on end. Before instinct caught up, heat exploded from Todoroki's left side, raw, unrestrained flame bursting to life, aimed directly at the thief. A wave of torrential heat shot forward. Yuta, who saw everything in slow motion, tilted his head accordingly. The blast missed its mark. Yuta's fingers reached unabated, and fell upon both headbands, the 10 million. And Todoroki's own 715-point band. Sorry, Yuta said. When did he? Yuta's feet touched the ice, and he vanished. A crack split across the frozen ground as Todoroki, shocked by his own reflexive flames, halted the surge. His right side clenched, ice erupting in panic to smother the heat he hadn't meant to use. Todoroki. Momo reacted. But it was too late. A blue and red streak flickered across the field. By the time Todoroki turned, Yuta was already 50 meters away, sliding effortlessly across the ice before, FWOSH, Hatsum descended from above, jetpack whining as she collided onto his back in a perfect landing. Whoa! Nailed the entry, she crowed, pumping a fist in the air. The brief silence was followed by an erupting stadium. Present Mick's voice nearly shattered the arena. Unbelievable. Yuta Akutami has, once again, completely turned the match on its head. He has stolen every major headband on the field. At home, on Aiko's couch, Eri shot up from her seat. He got it. He got it, she shrieked, tiny fists bouncing excitedly. Aiko blinked in surprise, lips tugging into a small smile. Look at you, she murmured. You really like him that much, huh? Eri nodded rapidly without taking her eyes off the screen. Back on the field, the ice prison cracked apart. Bakugo detonated himself free in a rage-fueled explosion, roaring like a wild animal. Akutami. That's not fair, someone screamed from the frozen crowd. She flew. She was in the air. Is that even allowed? Midnight's voice boomed across the field, sultry and amused. Allowed? Of course it is. As long as her feet didn't touch the ground while airborne, there's no violation. She cracked her whip for emphasis. This is UA, darlings. Creativity is encouraged. Groans and protests rippled through the crowd. There it is. The ruling stands and I can see why. That was the single most clutch play I've seen in sports festival history. Aizawa leaned back, exhaling slowly. That kid's a problem. A problem? He's a miracle. Same thing, Aizawa muttered. Todoroki broke out of his daze with the announcement, steam hissing as he suppressed the last unwanted branch of flame with a grim frown. His gaze locked on Yuta. Cold air spilled from his lungs in slow, controlled breaths. I see. It seems we all overlooked the single biggest problem of this competition. He didn't say more. Yuta, still carrying Hatsum high on his back, turned calmly toward the converging groups. Hundreds of eyes were locked on him, and Hatsum was practically grinning at the cameras. Hatsum Industries, baby. You saw it here first. Jetpacks. Propulsion gear. Grappling systems. Contact me for orders. Yuta sighed but didn't stop her. The cheers were loud. Louder than anything he'd expected. His chest felt tight, but in a good way. This is what it feels like, huh? Victory. Recognition. He exhaled. Then, boom. You think it's over? I'm taking that back. The ice-restraining Team Bakugo was blasted away. And out came a feral blonde, red eyes gleaming with violent intentions. Todoroki's ice spread across the ground again, converging from another angle. His expression was cold. But his eyes burned. Other teams were breaking free now, scrambling, desperate. Team Monoma, Team Tetsu, Team Shoji, damn it. Why won't this ice break? Hagakure yelled in frustration. Here. Let me try. Jiro injected her earphone jacks into the ice. Sound waves shot out from her legs, shattering the ice. Slowly but surely, everyone faced their direction. Well, they don't look too happy. Yuta felt Hatsum tense on his back. Partner? Yeah. I know. He crouched slightly, readying himself. Not over yet. Hatsum reached into her pouch and pulled out a cylindrical launcher, sleek, compact, and spring-loaded. You sure about this? Do it. She grinned and began stuffing every headband they'd stolen, except the 10 million, into the launcher. 9 headbands. Compacted. Loaded. Hey. Is that allowed? What's he doing with the headbands? I thought the rules said you could only hide it in an open area. Even Midnight frowned, wondering what they were up to. Midoriya gulped. I don't like how this feels. Ida adjusted his glasses with trembling fingers. This is highly concerning. By now barely over 2 minutes remained for the cavalry battle, Bakugo snarled. Don't you dare. But Yuta raised a hand, high enough for everyone to see. It's been fun, everyone. The charging teams hesitated. Bakugo slowed, just slightly. All eyes turned to Yuta. He adjusted his goggles. But the game's almost over. And I think I've had enough running around. Hatsum raised the launcher high. So now, you all have 2 choices. Yuta's grin widened. 1. Try to catch us and win first place. Hatsum's finger hovered over the trigger. Or, whoosh. She fired. The launcher exploded upward, sending all 9 headbands spiraling into the sky like confetti. They scattered, falling in different directions across the battlefield. Yuta smirked. Try and get as many as you can. He lifted the 10 million headband to his forehead. Pick your poison. Then promptly disappeared with Hatsum at extreme speeds. Silence. For 1 heartbeat. Then, chaos. The headbands. Grab them. Forget him, get the points. Teams exploded into motion. Some dove for the falling headbands. Others hesitated, torn between chasing Yuta and securing a guaranteed spot. Bakugo snarled, fists smoking. That clever bastard. Todoroki's eyes narrowed. He split the field. Midoriya's team reacted instantly. Ida's engines roared as they shot toward the nearest falling headband. Just theirs wouldn't be enough to guarantee a spot. Their combined points weren't that high to begin with. Just like them, Shinso's team scrambled. Even the frozen teams were breaking free now, desperate to grab something. Present Mick's voice cracked with excitement. He just turned the entire battlefield into a free-for-all. With only 2 minutes left, everyone's scrambling for those headbands. But Yuta Akutami still holds the 10 million points. Aizawa's eyes gleamed. Tactically sound. He reduced the number of threats by giving them an alternative target. That's one way to put it. I call it genius. Boom. A loud explosion resounded in the chaos. Everyone turned, only to see Bakugo had taken to the skies. Those headbands are mine. He shot towards the nearest one. Damn it. He's not even letting them fall. Todoroki's face changed. Yaoyorozu. Right. There was no need for words. In their team, she was the only one who could retrieve the headbands before they landed. Raising her hand, a long pole emerged, stretching forward until a headband was hooked. The arena once again devolved into a war zone as everyone struggled for points. Gotcha. Bakugo caught 2. Then he was caught by Siro's tape, pulling him back to their team to prevent him from touching the ground. Damn. I have to say I didn't see this coming. Siro exclaimed as he shot out his elbow tape. I know, right? Who would have thought? Shut it, idiots. Talk about that bastard and I'll kill you. Hey. Take it easy. We haven't even said anything. Yuta exhaled, watching the madness unfold. Hatsum cackled on his back. You're insane. I love it. 2 minutes left, Yuta muttered. Think we can last? With my babies? Obviously. Alright then, let's finish this. There would always be those who would chase them regardless. However, that number had significantly reduced. Those who had headbands were now under siege from others and didn't have the time to spare with him. Those who tried to chase after them gave up as the seconds passed. Bakugo and Todoroki were still coming but ultimately gave up after their headbands were stolen once by Monoma and Tetsutetsu's teams, respectively. Damn it! Bakugo roared as Monoma's squad made off with one of their stolen headbands. Get back here, you copy bastard! Monoma's laughter echoed across the field. Ahahaha. Class 1A's arrogance is their downfall. Did you really think you could, wham? Tetsutetsu's team slammed into them from the side, ripping the headband straight from Monoma's grasp. What? No. Thanks for the assist, classmate. No hard feelings. Tetsutetsu bellowed as he held the headband high. Just then, a tongue shot over. He ducked just in time. It's gonna take a lot more than that to. Hey there. Someone called out. What? The moment he replied, his face went dull. I'll be taking that. Shinso swooped in with a grab. The frenzy intensified elsewhere. Team Midoriya had managed to snag 2 headbands, their original and one they'd stolen midair with Tokoyami's dark shadow. We've got enough. Uraraka shouted. Just hold on. Agreed. Ida's engines flared as they weaved between attacking teams. But then, not so fast, Midoriya. Hagakure charged forward. Hand those over. No way. 1 minute remaining. The crowd was screaming. Folks, this is absolute madness. Headbands are changing hands every second. No one knows who's gonna make it through. 40 seconds left, people. Now 20. Bakugo's head snapped toward Yuta. One last time. I could make it. His hands sparked. If I blast myself hard enough, Bakugo, no. Kirishima shouted. We don't have time, we'll fall apart. Bakugo snarled. But he stayed. Because Kirishima was right. One wrong move, and they'd lose everything. That bastard had been tricky so far. He could bet on a lot of things impulsively, but not this. Todoroki had the same thought. His ice could reach. His fire could propel him. But, if I go, we leave ourselves open. He exhaled frost. And stayed. 10 seconds. 9. 8. The countdown echoed across the stadium. Teams made their final grabs. 7. Midoriya's team secured a second headband after losing one. 6. Shinso's team stole one from Hagakure after losing theirs. 5. Bakugo and Todoroki both tightened their grips on their hauls. 4. Yuta stood perfectly still. 3. Hatsum raised her arms triumphantly. 2. The field held its breath. 1. BZZZZZZZT. The buzzer blared. Time's up. Midnight cracked her whip. The cavalry battle is over. The crowd erupted in screams, cheers, and applause that shook the entire stadium. What a battle! What an absolute spectacle! Aizawa exhaled slowly. It's over. Now let's see the results right away. The scoreboard flickered. Then displayed, final rankings. First place, Team Akutami, 10 million points. Second place, Team Todoroki, 1,275 points. Third place, Team Bakugo, 1,095 points. Fourth place, Team Midoriya, 805 points. There you have it. With a lot of exciting performances, Yuta Akutami and Mei Hatsum take first place with an overwhelming lead. The arena exploded with noise. Hatsum threw her arms up, cackling maniacally. "My babies did it! Hatsum Industries for the win!" Yuta exhaled, finally letting himself relax. "We did it!" Across the field, Bakugo stood frozen, fists trembling. "Third place." Kirishima patted his shoulder. "Hey, man. We made it through, third place." Bakugo roared, explosions crackling. "I was supposed to win." Zero whistled. "Not sure he feels that way." Todoroki stared at the scoreboard, expression unreadable. "Second place. Honestly. That was the most intense thing I've ever experienced," Sato said, wiping the sweat off him. "Indeed." Momo nodded. "It felt like we were skating on thin ice." Todoroki didn't join the conversation. His eyes were fixed on Yuta with an unreadable intensity. Midoriya collapsed to his knees, relief flooding through him. We made it. Fourth place." Uraraka cheered, tears in her eyes. "We're through." Ida nodded firmly. "Well done, everyone." Tokoyami nodded. "Indeed." The other teams, those who didn't make it, stood in stunned silence. Shinso's team had placed fifth. Just one spot away. Ojiro looked devastated. Aoyama was crying. Shinso's expression was unreadable, but his fists were clenched. So close. Midnight's voice rang out, "Congratulations to the top 4 teams. You've earned your place in the final round." The crowd roared again. Akutami residence, Eri was bouncing on the couch, eyes shining. "He won. He won." Aiko leaned back, arms crossed, a small smile on her face. "Yeah. He did." She glanced at Eri. "Guess we'll have to congratulate him when he gets home." Eri nodded enthusiastically. "Yeah." As the crowd continued to cheer, Yuta finally stepped down from his stance. Hatsum hopped off his back, still grinning ear to ear. "That was the best," she said. "Yeah," Yuta agreed quietly. "It was." He looked up at the scoreboard. "First place. Not bad." Then his gaze shifted, to Bakugo, glaring at him from across the field. To Todoroki, watching him. To Midoriya, staring with a mix of awe and determination. Yuta exhaled. Round 3's gonna be rough. But for now, he let himself enjoy the moment. Hosu felt strangely empty. Not abandoned, just quiet in the way cities get when everyone is inside watching the same thing. Steel shutters were halfway closed on most storefronts. The usual smell of grilled yakitori drifting from street stalls was missing. Traffic lights blinked over nearly vacant intersections. Even the pigeons seemed confused by how few people were around. Every few blocks, the silence broke, the roar of a crowd gathered around a shop with its TV pushed into the window. 10, maybe 15 people, workers on break, teenagers in uniform, old men with folded arms, standing shoulder to shoulder to watch the broadcast. And he's still in first place. President Mick's voice burst from the speakers, echoing down the street. Thud. 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 The sound of footsteps drew closer, though the watchers paid no heed. Eventually it stopped right behind them. It lingered for a few seconds, then continued on its way. Huh. Someone broke away from the excitement and turned around. In the distance, a silver-haired man in strange attire walked away without stopping. His pace was unhurried, hands slipped into his pockets, and eyes drifted across the unusually still cityscape. A delivery cyclist sped by him, muttering, "I'm gonna miss the next match, damn it." Across the road, a convenience store had a small crowd pressed against its glass door, watching the mounted TV inside replay Todoroki's ice wave at the tunnel. No one noticed the masked man pause at the curb. He tilted his head up at a giant billboard. The screen flickered to a shot of the cavalry battle standings, Yuta's team at the top in massive bold letters. A small murmur rippled through the people watching below. Did you see that kid sprint? To think he beat the son of Endeavor. Oh please. The kid's just got a good teammate. The advantages support gear brings are exactly why they are usually restricted from being used. Doesn't really matter if you ask me. There's no way he's staying in general studies after this. He listened, absorbing every word, though his expression never changed. He seems to be doing quite well. His eyes turned elsewhere. Though my job seems to be harder than I expected. The silver-haired man contemplated with a hand on his chin. Hosu was large, and finding someone in it would be difficult beyond belief. However, it wasn't without hope. He had already thought of a plan before he was split from the main body. Maybe I should. Just then, a patrol car cruised slowly past the intersection, slower than usual. The officers inside weren't even watching the road. They were glancing down at a dashboard tablet streaming the festival. One of them whispered, "Just another minute, the next event's about to start. Won't we get in trouble? What's there to fear? The heroes have this handled. Not much we can do anyway." The car drove away. The masked man nodded thoughtfully. So they really are here. I just haven't seen them yet. He stepped off the curb and continued walking. Eventually turning down an alley. Just as he prepared to walk up the walls. Hold it right there. His footsteps stopped. Huh. Turning, what came into view was a woman standing at the mouth of the alley, tall, tense, and already half-crouched in a ready stance. She looked like a mid-tier pro, navy blue jacket reinforced at the elbows, light armor along her shins, a visor pushed up over sharp, focused eyes, and a communicator in her ears. Her hair was tied back in a tight loop that swung slightly with her breathing. "Step out slowly," she ordered. "Hands where I can see them." He blinked. "Me? Now." The masked man raised both hands slightly, palms open, and complied. "Is there a problem, officer?" he asked evenly. Her eyes narrowed, sweeping over him, the white hair, the mask, the unusual clothing. Doesn't match the description, she thought, frowning. A crackle came from her earpiece. "Mirage, report. Sector 7C clear." She pressed a finger to the device without taking her eyes off him. "Negative. False alarm. Moving to 7D next." "Copy." The woman, Mirage, let her guard stance relax slightly, though she didn't step back. "Apologies for the scare," she said, voice less sharp now. "We're conducting a search operation in this district. For your safety, I'd advise staying out of the alleys during this period." The masked man tilted his head slightly. "Search operation? That's all I can say." She clipped the baton back into place. "Head home. Or at least stay on the main roads." Without waiting for a response, she crouched low, her legs compressed like springs, before launching her onto the nearest rooftop in a single bound. She landed with barely a sound, already moving to the next building. The masked man watched her disappear over the edge. Then exhaled slowly. A hero. Searching for someone. He glanced at the rooftop where she'd vanished. Just like in canon. A search operation for Stain is probably ongoing right now. Ingenium is probably among them. His visible eye sharpened. Which means my job is easier than I thought. If his appearance hadn't caused any butterfly effects, then this operation would end with Ingenium being the only one to come against the hero killer. The masked man looked up. He didn't need to find Stain. He just needed to find Ingenium. And to do that, I'll need that communicator. The masked man crouched slightly. Chakra flooded his legs. And then, whoosh. He vanished. The alley returned to silence. Not far away, a billboard displaying the sports festival echoes with present Mick's voice. And that wraps up the morning events. Now we'll take an hour break for lunch before we start the afternoon festivities. See ya then. Present Mike flipped off his mic, boy, eraser. Lunch? Go by yourself, Aizawa muttered. I'm sleeping. Thousands had already begun vacating the arena for the carnival area outside the stadium. The participants, on the other hand, took the backstage exit for staff and participants. So tired. Mina groaned as the students shuffled out of the arena. That was the most intense battle I've ever been in, Mineta muttered. For once, I agree with Mineta, Azui said. It was chaotic. Though you were quite amazing, Mina. Mina scratched her head sheepishly. Thanks. But Bakugo only let me join to deal with Todoroki's ice. We probably would have lost if not for Shiro and Bakugo during the final scramble. I wasn't much help, really. Yeah. To think the whole cavalry battle would turn into a one-man show. Shiro smiled. Don't even mention it, Mineta huffed. That Yuta bastard turned everything into an all-out war and pitted everyone against each other while he took the biggest slice for himself. We couldn't even get any headbands as a result. Mineta, people were already against each other, Azui said flatly. It's the whole point of the contest. Plus, we already lost our headbands before he stole it. Don't pay him any attention. If anything, he's just sore that he didn't make it and someone from General Studies did. Shiro uttered with a smirk. Honestly, it was pretty cool. Hey! Mineta yelled at him angrily. My point stands. The only reason he could pull that off was because of all that support gear. If I had equipment like that, I could be just as cool as he was. It's not good to talk behind people's backs, Shoji said calmly. So what? Let him come face to face, I'm not scared of him. You do know I can hear you, right, short stack? Mineta stiffened. Oh. Everyone turned to see Yuta a few paces behind them, having just emerged from the tunnel. Crimson hair, sharp blue eyes, and an athletic build wrapped in his UA gym uniform. His expression was neutral, but his gaze was fixed squarely on Mineta. Silence. Rib bit. You better apologize, Mineta. Azui urged. However, Mineta, being Mineta, did the opposite. Humph. I'll only apologize if I'm wrong. And I don't see it that way. He puffed up defensively. If anything, I sense a conspiracy going on. Yuta raised an eyebrow. What? Humph, don't think I don't see it. If your quirk is so awesome, then how come you didn't make it into the hero course, huh? The way I see it, this is all just your conspiracy to act cool and replace one of us. The air went silent. Looking at Mineta, who looked like he had just solved Bigfoot, Mina slapped her forehead with exasperation. Huh? What's the matter? Silent because I just exposed your plans? Yuta shrugged in response. I'm not in the hero course despite my quirk, while you're in it despite your height. Life is full of contradictions. Mineta immediately combusted. What's that supposed to, MMPH? Mina clamped a hand over his mouth before he could finish. Don't mind him, Azui said, her tone apologetic. That's how he usually is. Rib bit. Mina waved with a bright smile, still restraining Mineta with her other hand. Hi. Nice to see you again, Yuta. Guys, you remember him, right? Yes. From that unauthorized cafeteria incident, Ida said, adjusting his glasses. Congratulations on taking first place. Your performance exceeded expectations. Thanks. Yuta glanced at the group briefly, then nodded. I'll let you get to lunch. He walked past them without another word. Once he was out of earshot, Mina released Mineta. You idiot. Would you stop provoking our competitors? He gasped for air, then immediately puffed up again. Humph. He only threw those headbands away to avoid getting ganged up on. It wasn't some genius move. It was an effective strategy, though, Ida said thoughtfully. What do you think, Deku-kun? Uraraka asked. Midoriya nodded, muttering under his breath. Indeed. He secured 9 headbands before taking the 10 million, then distributed the rest. His early speed showed that chasing him further would be unwise. With only 2 minutes left, no one was willing to take the risk of losing their own advancement just to go after him. He paused. Not even Kaken. Honestly, the strategy was sound. In that way, he excluded himself from being a target. His use of support gear also showed excellent planning. Plus his speed and general athletic ability. Everyone had their expressions grow serious. Either way, he'll be a difficult opponent for anyone to face. And if he keeps up this performance. Midoriya trailed off. He might just replace someone from the hero course. The hallway leading toward the cafeteria was loud with footsteps and chatter, but in Yuta's head, Mineta's words still echoed. A conspiracy. Seriously? He exhaled through his nose. Replace someone from the hero course, he muttered under his breath. If I wanted to act cool, I'd pick a theory that didn't sound like it came from the back of a cereal box. It wasn't even insulting, just dumb. So dumb it almost wrapped back around into being impressive. Well, it came from Mineta. Still. He wasn't blind. Mineta wasn't attacking out of malice. Well, maybe he was. However, it was most likely that the guy was terrified. Replace someone from the hero course. If anything, that fear came from what Shinso said 2 weeks ago, not from Yuta's actions. Behind all the jealousy and bravado, Mineta had one core motivation in life: become cool, get girls. The hero course was his golden ticket. If someone from general studies suddenly looked better than him, of course he'd panic. In Yuta's view, however, he was simply overthinking. Sure, his performance at the sports festival was far from ideal, but if anyone was at risk of losing their spot, it wasn't Mineta. For all his flaws, the grape idiot's quirk had utility, range, mobility, area control. He was weak in comparison to the top students in Class 1A? Sure. But in the bigger picture? Hagakure's quirk was useless in combat. Koda talked to pigeons and half of 1B were somewhat average. Yuta sighed. From the looks of it, Mineta wasn't going anywhere. His situation, while weak, was far from hopeless, and Yuta felt like he would most likely replace Class 1B rather than 1A. How unfortunate. Either way, it didn't matter. Transferring to the hero course was still a distant possibility. And right now, he had bigger problems. Like the throbbing ache in his calves. TCH. He winced slightly as he walked. That burst of chakra during the cavalry battle, especially while his pathways were still healing, had been reckless. His body had barely healed only to be put to work once again. Need to be careful for the one-on-one matches. He shifted his weight, trying not to limp, and froze. Up ahead, standing near the path leading toward the main cafeteria building, was Todoroki Shoto. Arms crossed. Expression unreadable. Body angled in a way that made it very obvious he wasn't coincidentally standing there. Is he waiting for me? Yuta approached slowly. Todoroki's eyes tracked him the whole way. Cold, sharp, and giving off an intimidating vibe. Stopping just a bit short, Yuta's brows furrowed. Can I help you? You're strong. Todoroki spoke without preamble. And you've gotten ahead of me twice today. Todoroki exhaled, a thin cloud of cold mist drifting from the right side of his face. I won't pretend that doesn't bother me. Yuta blinked. Race and cavalry battle? Yeah, I guess. His tone wasn't angry. It wasn't hostile. It was simply honest. So, where exactly was this going? And? During the cavalry battle, your last move caught me off guard. His eyes narrowed. I reacted on instinct. I didn't choose to. My body did. That means I was treating you as a threat. So much so that I broke a pledge I made to myself. Yuta raised a brow. Thanks. It wasn't a compliment. Todoroki's tone didn't change at all, making the deadpan sting even harder. If anything, it means I wasn't in control. That's unacceptable. Right. Classic Todoroki phrasing, you forced me to respect you, and I'm upset about that. This? Seriously? Yuta resisted the urge to smack his forehead. Do I look like Midoriya? I won't pretend that doesn't bother me either. He said, looking at his left hand. Truthfully, I never expected someone like you to come from general studies. Nevertheless, that doesn't change anything. I'm telling you this because when our match comes, Yuta blinked. You're assuming we'll fight? Todoroki paused. Yes, I am. It wasn't arrogance. It was statistical confidence. And honestly? Fair. Yuta rubbed the back of his neck. Go on. When our match comes, Todoroki said, voice lower, I won't let your unpredictability dictate the pace. I'm not going to repeat today's mistakes. A faint chill radiated from his right side again, barely noticeable, but deliberate. Like he was making a statement. Yuta caught the implication. This time, I'm taking you seriously from the start. He exhaled. Internally, he wasn't intimidated. Todoroki wasn't being aggressive. He was being Todoroki. Blunt. Awkward. Intense in a socially inconvenient way. Still, Yuta decided not to poke fun. The guy was clearly sorting out his pride or whatever family nonsense he had going on. Before Yuta could respond, the background noise shifted. From Todoroki's slight change in expression, he didn't even need to turn around to know what was happening. But he did anyway. Class 1A was gathered near the cafeteria entrance, halfway through regrouping after the events of the day. Midoriya, Ida, Uraraka, Kaminari, Shoji, even Bakugo had shown up at some point, glancing over with his usual, I'm not looking but I'm totally looking, scowl. They were all staring. Some subtle. Some not. Kaminari nudged Shoji with his elbow. Dude. What's going on? Shoji squinted. Can't you guess? A standoff between the top two. Uraraka gasped a little. A challenge between men. Ida chopped the air immediately. Uraraka. Please refrain from romanticizing a confrontation. Behind them, Class 1B students also trickled into view, pausing when they saw the two frontrunners. We will settle this in the arena, Todoroki said, lowering his voice. Then turned to head into the cafeteria to avoid a larger spectacle. I'll see you in the bracket. Yuta exhaled. I'm not cut out for this. Yuta walked through the cafeteria doors. Conversations didn't exactly stop. But they slowed. Eyes tracked him, and whispers followed like a tide. That's him, first place, general studies kid, pretended not to hear, he joined the lunch line. The smell of grilled fish and miso soup filled the air, mixing with the buzz of 100 overlapping conversations. Somewhere near the windows, a group of support course students were arguing about gear regulations. At another table, business course kids were taking bets on the afternoon matches. Normal lunch hour chaos. Except every few seconds, someone would glance his way. Behind the counter, Lunch Rush worked with machine-like precision, ladling curry, plating rice, sliding trays down the rail. When Yuta stepped forward, the man smiled. Well, well. If it isn't our star performer. That was some world-class maneuvering out there, young man. Speed, strategy, timing, you had it all. Thanks, Yuta said, accepting a bowl of rice. TCH, move. Yuta didn't even have to turn to recognize the voice. Bakugo brushed past him, tray in hand, scowl carved into his face like it was permanent. "You're clogging the damn line," Bakugo snapped. "You're behind me," Yuta replied calmly. "The line moves with me." Bakugo's eyelid twitched. A dangerous sign. Before he could explode, verbally or literally, two very familiar figures chimed in behind him. Zero nudged Kirishima. "Bro, he's already mad." "Yeah," Kirishima whispered back, loudly, "this is like peak Bakugo irritation. We should rate it. Solid 8 out of 10. 8? Nah, 9. He's got the vein popping. I will kill both of you," Bakugo snarled. Yuta walked away without looking back. He crossed the cafeteria to the space for general studies. There, his friends were waiting. Hana scooted her tray aside excitedly. "Yuta! Over here." He walked over and sat down. "Hey! Yuta!" Hana's face lit up. "You were incredible out there." Kimura nodded enthusiastically. "Seriously. That was insane." Tanaka leaned back, arms crossed, but his grin gave him away. "Yeah. You made the rest of us look bad." Yuta shrugged. "Don't exaggerate. It's no big deal. How'd you guys do?" Hana's smile faltered. "I didn't make it past the fall." Tanaka sighed. "We both made it to the end, but at the bottom." Silence. Then Hana leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Okay. Explain." "Explain what?" "Your quirk. You've been telling us for weeks that it's weak. And now suddenly you're outpacing the entire hero course?" Kimura nodded. "Yeah. Were you lying to us?" Yuta met their gazes evenly. "No. I wasn't lying." "Then how, the accident?" They blinked. "I was in the hospital for a few days, remember?" Yuta continued. "Let's just say I had a peculiar encounter with." "Hold on. Did you fight a villain?" Tanaka suddenly asked. Yuta paused. "How did you?" "I guessed. It's been on my mind since you mentioned it. I mean, there are few things that are difficult to talk about, so." Guess so. I was hurt pretty badly, enough to be on life support for several days. The good news is I think my quirk got stronger. I didn't know it could do that either." Hana frowned. "That's convenient." "It's the truth." Kimura exchanged a glance with Tanaka. "So what, you're like a shonen protagonist now? Near-death experience gives you a power-up?" Yuta's lips twitched. "Something like that." They talked a bit more, small things, jokes, deflections, but the atmosphere had shifted. Yuta stood, lifting his tray. "Hold on a minute, guys. I'm grabbing a drink. Get me one too." Hana chirped. "Sure." As Yuta walked away, the three of them sat in silence. "He's different now," Hana said quietly. "Yeah," Kimura agreed. Tanaka didn't say anything. Yuta headed toward the drink counter on the far side of the cafeteria, right past the hero course tables. Halfway there, voices drifted over. "I'm telling you, it's totally a sports festival tradition," Kaminari was saying. Mineta nodded vigorously beside him. "Yeah. All the girls are supposed to wear cheerleader uniforms before the elimination rounds. I heard it from Aizawa-sensei directly." "Excuse me?" Yaoyorozu frowned. "I never received any announcement about that." "You don't have to believe us," Mineta said, adopting the smuggest voice possible. "I just figured the vice rep should know before she embarrasses the class. But hey, maybe Class 1A wants to fall behind the others?" Uraraka looked uncertain. Jiro grimaced. Hagakure tilted her head. Yuta stopped at the drink machine. He didn't even need plot knowledge for this one. The scheme was obvious from a mile away. He filled Hannah's cup first. Then his own. All right. Let's get some payback. The hour break passed faster than anyone expected. One moment the cafeteria buzzed with leftover adrenaline, gossip, and half-finished meals. And the next, Present Mick's voice thundered across every speaker in the stadium. Hello everyone. The crowd erupted as the giant screens lit up, cameras panning across the arena. Hope you're done digesting, because lunch is over. And you know what that means, it's time to reveal the final game of the UA Sports Festival. Students poured out of their respective tunnels, the echo of footsteps mixing with the roar of the audience. From the General Studies tunnel, Yuta stepped into the light with his hands casually in his pockets and a satisfied smile. Up in one of the mid-level seating blocks, Hannah leaned forward against the railing. He seems to be in a good mood. Back on the field, everyone else began to appear. Class 1A and 1B filtered out, some energized, some pale with nerves. Bakugo in particular stomped forward like the arena owed him money. Todoroki walked with his usual ice-cold indifference. Ida marched in as serious as ever. And then, two figures stumbled out from the Class 1A tunnel. Kaminari and Mineta. Both looked like they'd been through a blender. Kaminari's hair was more disheveled than usual, and a faint red handprint was visible on his cheek. Mineta had a black eye forming. They glared at Yuta from across the field. Pure, unfiltered resentment. Yuta didn't even glance their way. Several students noticed. What happened to them? Siro whispered. Kirishima squinted. They look like they got jumped. Jiro smirked knowingly. They did. Mina giggled. By us. What? Long story, Jiro said, cracking her knuckles with a satisfied grin. Let's just say they tried to pull something stupid, and someone tipped us off. Hagakure's invisible form practically radiated smugness. Best lunch break ever. Across the field, Mineta muttered under his breath, eyes locked on Yuta. Snitch. Kaminari groaned. Dude, let it go. We're alive. Barely. I'm not letting it go, Mineta hissed. That guy, alright, listeners. Present Mick's voice boomed again, cutting through the chatter. Let's get this show on the road. The students assembled in the center of the field. Midnight stood at the front, whip coiled in one hand, microphone in the other. Her grin was sharp and theatrical. Welcome back, everyone, the crowd roared. She let the noise build for a moment, then raised a hand. Silence fell almost immediately. Now then, she purred, I'm sure you're all eager to know what's next. The elimination tournament. One-on-one battles. Winner advances, loser goes home. Cheers exploded from the stands. But, Midnight's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Before we get to that, we have a little announcement. The tone shift was immediate. Students stiffened. The crowd leaned forward. As you all know, Midnight continued, the top 4 teams from the cavalry battle were supposed to advance to the finals. 16 people total. She paused. However, the word hung in the air. One team. Team Akutami only had 2 members. Gasps rippled through the crowd. On the field, students who hadn't made it through the cavalry battle suddenly perked up. Shinso's eyes narrowed. Tetsu straightened. Hagakure's gloves clenched. That's right. Present Mick's voice exploded from the speakers. That means there are 2 open slots in the finals bracket. The students who'd been eliminated erupted. Wait, seriously? We still have a chance? No way. Midnight cracked her whip, and silence returned. Now, she said, grinning. Don't get too excited just yet. We're not just giving away spots. Her eyes gleamed. You're going to earn them. The giant screen behind her flickered to life. Recreational games, top 2 advance. For the next 10 minutes, all students who did not qualify from the cavalry battle will participate in a series of recreational challenges. She gestured grandly. Obstacle sprints. Target accuracy. Endurance tests. Each game event awards points based on placement. At the end, the top 2 scorers advance to the finals. The non-qualifiers exploded with renewed energy. Hell yeah. I'm not out yet. Let's go. Even Shinso, normally stoic, allowed himself a faint smirk. A second chance. Midnight turned toward the students who had already qualified. As for the rest of you, she said, you're welcome to participate in the recreational games if you wish. However, she paused for effect. Your scores will not count toward advancement. You're already in. This is purely for fun. A few students exchanged glances. Bakugo snorted. TCH, waste of time. Todoroki's expression didn't change, but he stepped back slightly. Clearly opting out. Midoriya looked torn, glancing at Ida and Uraraka. Should we? I think I'll sit this one out, Ida said, adjusting his glasses. Best to conserve energy for the finals. Uraraka nodded. Yeah. Same. I guess. What about? Huh? Across the field, Yuta had already walked to the sidelines. He leaned against the wall near the tunnel entrance, arms crossed, watching. Not worth it. His legs carried a faint ache from this morning. The last thing he needed was to waste energy on games that didn't matter. Hatsum appeared beside him, grinning. Not participating? Nope. Smart. Me neither. Gotta save energy for marketing opportunities later. Yuta sighed. Right. That. She didn't seem to notice his tone. Oh. By the way. Thanks for the assist earlier. First place looks great on a resume. You're welcome. Midnight raised her whip. Alright. NON qualifiers, line up. 26 students scrambled. Shinso. Tetsu. Shiozaki. Azui. Shoji. Mineta. Hagakure. Ojiro. Aoyama. Koda. Monoma. And more from Class 1B first event, Scavenger Hunt. Go. 10 minutes later, the recreational games blurred together in a frenzy of movement, quirks, and desperation. First was the scavenger hunt, then giant darts, endurance tests, ball-bouncing races. By the third event, patterns emerged. Certain students kept appearing at the top of each leaderboard. Shiozaki. Mineta. Azui. Shoji, Tetsu. The crowd was loving it. Go. 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 Come on, you can do it. Don't give up. From the sidelines, Yuta watched with narrowed eyes and a brewing suspicion. Mineta's doing better than I expected. Final event, Quirk Relay. Present Mike announced. Use your quirk to complete the course. Fastest 10 get points. Eventually, the buzzer sounded. The games ended. The scoreboard flickered. Final recreational scores 1. Ibara Shiozaki, 48 points. 2. Minoru Mineta, 44 points. 3. Itsuya Kendo, 39 points. 4. Tsuyu Asui, 37 points. 5. Tetsu, 35 points. The stadium screens froze for a moment as the numbers finalized. A second later, Present Mick's voice boomed, and the 2 students advancing to the final bracket are Ibara Shiozaki and Minoru Mineta. Give Em a hand. The audience wasn't stingy with their applause. On the field, Shiozaki bowed gracefully, hands clasped in prayer. Thank you, Lord, for this opportunity. Meanwhile, Mineta collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. I made it. Then he looked up. At the scoreboard. Second place. He'd earned his spot in the finals. A grin spread across his face. Hell yeah. Take that, you guys. I'm better than all of you. Beside him, Tetsu stared at the scoreboard. Bruh. Kendo scratched her cheek with a baffled smile. I mean, he worked for it. Tsuyu tilted her head. Ribbit, he really did do pretty well. Zero slowly lowered his drink. You sure the scoreboard isn't broken? Bakugo scoffed, arms crossed. TCH. Those stupid side games probably just fit his sticky grape crap. Hagakure tapped her gloves together nervously. I mean, he is motivated sometimes. It's just usually for all the wrong reasons. The disbelief didn't spread further than that. Class 1B barely reacted, they didn't know Mineta's track record. The crowd simply applauded the finalists. Only the people who had survived Mineta's presence on a daily basis were trying to understand what timeline they had just entered. From the sidelines, Yuta's eye twitched. He replayed the events mentally. Scavenger hunt, Mineta was fast, slippery, and opportunistic. Giant darts, his sticky balls actually worked as weighted anchors. Quirk relay, he cheated the mobility test by ricocheting between walls like a purple rubber bullet. Objectively, he earned those points. Subjectively, Yuta exhaled through his nose. Congratulations to Ibara Shiozaki and Minoru Mineta. You've earned your place in the finals. The crowd roared. The two students, exhausted, battered, but victorious, stood at the center of the arena. Midnight's grin widened. Now then, let's reveal the tournament bracket. The giant screen flickered. Names appeared. Shuffling. Randomizing. And then, Match 1, Yuta Akutami vs Minoru Mineta. Match 2, Denki Kaminari vs Ibara Shiozaki. Match 3, Shoto Todoroki vs Hantashiro. Match 4, Tenya Ida vs Mei Hatsum. Match 5, Fumikage Tokoyami vs Mina Ashido. Match 6, Momo Yaoyorozu vs Rikido Sato. Match 7, Katsuki Bakugo vs Izuku Midoriya. Match 8, Ejiro Kirishima vs Achiko Uraraka. The crowd exploded. Yuta vs Mineta? First match? This is gonna be good. Poor Mineta. On the field, Mineta's face went pale. He stared at the bracket. At his name. At Yuta's name. Right next to each other. Match 1. His legs trembled. No. Across the field, Yuta's faint smile widened. You know what? Never mind. Mineta's eyes slowly turned toward him and found Yuta already looking. No. Something in Mineta's expression folded in on itself. His shoulders sagged. Kaminari leaned toward Zero and whispered, "Is he leaking? Or crying?" "Little of both," Zero murmured. "Shut up," Mineta croaked. "Shut up, shut up." He sank down until he was practically sitting on the floor. Why? Why is the universe like this? I finally get a miracle. This was supposed to be my comeback arc. Across the arena, other reactions unfolded. Midoriya stood frozen, staring at the bracket. Match 7, Katsuki Bakugo vs Izuku Midoriya. His hands trembled slightly. Kaken. Here. In front of everyone. Uraraka noticed his expression. Deku? You okay? He didn't answer immediately. Yeah. I'm fine. A few paces away, Bakugo read the same board and let out a short, delighted scoff. Izuku Midoriya. TCH. Kirishima nudged him. Dude, you're fighting Midoriya. That's gonna be intense. Shut up. But Bakugo's grin widened slightly. Finally. Gonna crush that nerd in front of everyone. Show them he's still the same worthless Deku. Kirishima blinked. You seem weirdly excited about this. I said shut up. Todoroki glanced at his own matchup. Match 3, Shoto Todoroki vs. Hanta 0-0. Tape quirk. Shouldn't be a problem. His eyes drifted to the other names on the board. Bakugo. Midoriya. Akutami. If I keep winning. He exhaled frost. I'll face one of them eventually. Midnight cracked her whip, pulling everyone's attention back. Finalists. You have 10 minutes to prepare. Hydrate, stretch, panic, whatever you need to do. Cementos lumbered onto the field, a massive concrete pipe trailing behind him. Liquid cement thundered through them like a gray waterfall, rapidly forming the flat, sturdy combat stage. Meanwhile, Mineta sat hunched on a bench, staring at nothing. Why? Out of everyone. I get him. Did I offend a shrine? Kaminari slapped his back. Hey. Don't die before the match starts. Zero nodded encouragingly. Look, bro, it's not impossible. If you come up with a good strategy, you might be able to make a miracle happen. Mineta blinked quickly. You think so? Kaminari and Zero exchanged a look. Sure, they both said. Somehow, that was enough. Mineta wiped his eyes, squared his little shoulders, and stood up. You're right, he said to absolutely no one, because everyone else had already turned away. I'm still in this. Ajui's voice floated gently over. At least it'll be quick. Rib bit. Asui. Ajui tilted her head. To be fair, you were going to lose to someone eventually. Before anyone else could pour salt, Present Mic's voice hit max volume. The stage is ready. Let's get this show rolling. The crowd roared. Yuta stepped into the tunnel with a light stretch. On the opposite side, Mineta bit his fingers anxiously, wringing his other hand around one of his own sticky spheres. Cementos created a reinforced chair near the sideline and sat down. Thank you, Cementos. Present Mic roared. A lot has happened, but we're finally here. Alright, everyone. It's time. The finals you've all been waiting for. The crowd roared. First matchup, on the left with an astounding performance and the aura of an underdog who has defied the odds to be here, from General Studies, Yuta Akutami. Yuta stepped into the light. His entrance was accompanied by cheers. From the General Studies section, Hana and Kimura were on their feet, shouting his name. Back home, Eri bounced on the couch. Go Yuta. Aiko smiled faintly, arms crossed. Don't lose. Yuta walked forward, a slight smile on his face. And on the other end. With the height of my coffee table and a narrow win to scrape into the finals, Minoru Mineta. Mineta stepped out. The reaction was mixed. A few weak cheers from his classmates. Uraraka clapped politely. You can do it, Mineta. Stop cheering, Jiro muttered. He's toast. Mina grimaced. Yeah, this is gonna be rough. Mineta walked forward anyway. They stepped onto the arena. Midnight raised her whip. The rules are simple. Her voice cut through the noise. Force your opponent out of bounds. Immobilize them. Or make them surrender. Alright. Bring on the battles and injuries. And worry not for your safety, we have Recovery Girl on standby. Present Mic added. Cementos sat forward slightly. I'll stop the match if things go too far. Midnight grinned. Ready. Yuta and Mineta locked eyes. This is it, Mineta thought. This is my chance. Humph. No one here believes I can win this. That means he'll probably underestimate me. That'll be my chance. Set. Then I'll prove it to everyone in class. Everyone in the country. His hands reached for the balls on his head. That I'm actually cool. Start. The moment Present Mic shouted, Mineta yanked 2 sticky balls free, one in each hand, arm cocked back to throw, whoosh. The figure in the distance blurred. Mineta's eyes widened. Wait, it was too late. All Mineta saw was a shoe enlarging in his vision. Bang! The kick slammed straight into his stomach. Mineta's breath exploded out of his lungs. His body lifted off the ground. And flew. Like a soccer ball launched by a professional. He sailed backwards over the boundary line and slammed into the far wall with a sickening thud. Then slid to the ground motionless. The stadium held its breath. Even present Mike was speechless for a solid 3 seconds. In the stands, Shoji crossed his arms, just like we said. Kaminari nodded weakly. Yeah. He stood no chance. Can't blame him for trying though, Zero muttered. But man, that was brutal. Bakugo snorted. Pathetic. Present Mick's voice finally caught up. Anne. That's the match. Medical bots hurried over as Mineta groaned faintly, getting placed onto a stretcher. Cameras zoomed in. Fans erupted. At the center, Yuta let out a soft breath. That subtle, annoying feeling, the one telling him something about the situation was wrong, finally faded. The universe had finally achieved balance. All jokes aside though, he wasn't about to let Mineta's quirk create some ridiculous upset. This was fiction. And the #1 rule of fictional battles, never underestimate a named character. Present Mike regained his momentum. What an explosive start to the finals. Yuta Akutami advances to round 2 with a decisive, and I mean decisive, victory. Mineta was wheeled off, mumbling weakly, I almost had him. Yuta watched as Miners was carried away, then turned to look at the next line of matchups. Match 1, Yuta Akutami vs Minoru Mineta. Match 2, Denki Kaminari vs Ibara Shiozaki. Match 3, Shoto Todoroki vs Hanta Zero. Match 4, Tenya Ida vs Mei Hatsum. Match 5, Fumikage Tokoyami vs Mina Ashido. Match 6, Momo Yaoyorozu vs Rikido Sato. Match 7, Katsuki Bakugo vs Izuku Midoriya. Match 8, Ajiro Kirishima vs Achiko Uraraka. It seems a lot has changed compared to canon. Mineta's appearance in the finals wasn't the only change. The next 3 matches remained untouched, albeit in a different order. However, from matches 6 to 8, the difference was clear. Especially Midoriya vs Bakugo. From the looks of it, Midoriya and Todoroki wouldn't have the chance to enact their fated match unless Bakugo capsized in the gutter. Which was honestly a possibility. After all, Midoriya was the protagonist. Kaminari vs Kayazaki. He looked at match 2 and turned back towards the tunnel. The winner of this match was obvious. Hosu City, rooftop, Sector 8A, he crouched at the building's edge, listening to the calm chatter in his ear. Below, Mirage lay unconscious against the ventilation unit. That was closer than I'd like. She'd been mid-leap when he struck, nerve cluster, side of the neck. She dropped like a puppet with cut strings. He'd seen the technique in a medical textbook during his hospital stay and memorized the diagram. The Sharingan had done the rest. First time using it on a person. Worked better than expected. He shifted her weight against the unit and made sure she wouldn't roll if she moved. 10 minutes, maybe 15. Plenty of time. The comm crackled. Sector 9B clear. Moving to 9C. Copy. Ingenium, status? He froze. Sector 6D. No contact yet. Expanding sweep to 6E. There. He listened to Ingenium's voice, the rhythm, the breathing pattern, and pressed the comm. His voice came out as Mirage's. Mirage here. Sector 7C is clear. Moving to 7D. No signs of target. Copy, Mirage. Stay alert. Target is highly dangerous. Understood. He released the button. That should buy time. One last glance at Mirage, then he pocketed the comm and moved. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Present Mick's voice blasted through the stadium speakers before the crowd even finished settling. The first match might have been short and traumatizing for some, but hey. We survived. A wave of laughter rolled across the stands. Down on the competitors' platform, Midnight flicked her whip with a sharp crack, calling everyone to attention. Finalists for Match 2, step forward. Fire spurted from the edges of the ring. Now let's get moving. From Class 1B's Hero Course, here to show that even pretty flowers have thorns, Ibra Shiozaki. Shiozaki stepped forward. Versus, the Hero Course's Sparky Killer, Denki Kaminari. Kaminari bounced lightly on his heels. Midnight raised her hand. Contestants, ready? Kaminari rolled his neck once, sparks prickling across his fingers. Let's make this quick, Shiozaki. How about after I win, we go on, a date? Maybe? If you want? Shiozaki blinked at him. A date? Why? He let out a light grin. Because this match will probably be over in a second. Above them, Midnight raised her whip. Begin. Kaminari instantly planted his feet, sparks exploding across his frame. Hope you don't hate me for this. Indiscriminate discharge. A blinding burst of electricity erupted from him, 1.3 million volts flooding the arena in a tidal wave of lightning. The audience gasped. Dust swirled. And, Shiozaki simply turned around. Her vine speared downward like roots seeking soil, piercing deep into the ground. She lifted her arm. The earth trembled. A massive dome of intertwined vines erupted upward, shielding her completely as Kaminari's attack crashed into it like a storm hitting a cliff. Hum. The lightning scattered harmlessly across the curved wall, dancing along the vines before grounding out into the earth. Present Mick's jaw dropped. Wait, hold on, the smoke cleared. Behind the vine wall, Shiozaki still had her back turned. Still praying. Meanwhile, Kaminari. Her. Fully brain-dead drooling idiot mode. Vines burst from beneath the arena floor, looping around his limbs and torso, lifting him gently into the air like a captured fish. Shiozaki finally turned. I apologize, Kaminari-san. But I cannot condone reckless violence. Please reflect upon your actions. Friendo. Kaminari responded by blowing a snot bubble. Present Mike threw his arms out wide. And that's another instant win. Shiozaki advances to round 3, and Class 1A loses their second finalist. The Class 1B section erupted. Yees. That's how it's done. Tetsu roared. Pony waved both hands. Go Ibara. Koz wiped away dramatic tears. Our beautiful angel wins again. Monoma jumped onto the railing. Did everyone hear Kaminari say he'd end the match in a second? And he did, he just happened to be the one who didn't last a second, thwack. A single karate chop from Kendo folded him like a lawn chair. He collapsed sideways, and she grabbed him before he could fall off. Kendo bowed apologetically to Class 1A, sorry. He's enthusiastic. And loud. The applause continued as Shiozaki bowed gracefully and exited the stage, her vines carrying Kaminari off gently. Yuta exhaled slowly. Well, that went exactly as expected. It was practically the same thing he remembered from the anime. Yuta glanced up toward the board displaying the next matches. Match 3, Shoto Todoroki vs Hanta Siro. Match 4, Tenya Ida vs Mei Hatsum. Todoroki vs Siro. A massacre. Hatsum vs Ida. A walking advertisement. He could already picture it. Zero frozen solid in 12 seconds. Ida spending 10 minutes being used as free marketing for baby carriers and rocket boots. So, I have nothing to do for the next 10 to 20 minutes. TCH, the irritated click left his lips. Hey Yuta. Earth to Yuta. A hand waved in front of his face, huh? Did something happen? Hana asked. Your focus isn't really on the battles. You seem to have something on your mind. Huh. When she start reading me this well? Yuta glanced back at her, then at the arena where Cementos was repairing the stage. Just, waiting for something, he said finally. Waiting for what? To see if a plan worked out. Hana tilted her head. What plan? Yuta's lips quirked slightly. Can't say. Not yet. His eyes focused back on the stage. 20 seconds later, his gaze wandered again. Yuta sighed, turning toward the exit. Yeah, I'm not sitting through those. He turned away from the arena and headed deeper into the hallway. Yuta, where are you going? Bored. Bored? But the fight's about to get good. The ice guy from the hero course is up next. Aren't you going to see what he can do? You'll have to fight him if you win the next round, Tanaka said. Well, I already know what he can do. Yuta shrugged. Several matches before his turn. Might as well use the time for something useful. The noise of the stadium dulling behind him with every stride. Well, no rushing memories means it's still alive. That could be good, or bad, depending on how he looked at it. The sounds of the arena faded completely as he rounded the corner. His footsteps echoed in the empty corridor. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then, Hosu, Japan. Strike the vagus nerve cluster just right, and the body's own wiring does the rest. Blood pressure drops and heart rate plummets. Mirage had fallen just as Yuta expected. The Sharingan made it easy to accomplish. What he hadn't expected was how quickly she'd start waking up. A head tilting 5 degrees. Weight shifting off-center. Pressure easing where it once was would lead to the difference between 10 minutes of unconsciousness and 5. Mirage lay where he'd left her, propped against the ventilation unit. Below, the city hummed. Traffic. Distant voices. Present mix commentary echoing from a storefront TV. 4 minutes. Her eyelid twitched. 5 minutes. Her eyes opened. Blue sky. Too bright. Rooftop. The alley. The masked man, the strike, her hand shot to her neck. Tender. Bastard got me. She sat up fast. Dizziness hit, but she pushed through. Her hand went to her ear. Empty. Shit. He either wanted her silent, or he was using her voice right now. She stood, bracing against the ventilation unit. Need to find someone. Now. She vaulted to the next building. Her head throbbed, but she kept moving. 2 blocks over, there. Red and white costume. Torque. Torque. She landed beside him. He spun, reaching for his baton, then stopped. Miss Mirage? My comm's been stolen. Alert everyone. Now. What? Ingenium, Hosu, Sector 6E, Tensei Ida's engines hummed at low idle as he moved through the backstreets, checking every shadow and fire escape. Hours of searching. Dozens of blocks covered. Still nothing. He has to be here somewhere. It had been 3 hours since the operation to find the hero killer began. Unfortunately, 3 hours in and they had nothing to show for it. Ingenium here. Sector 6E clear. Moving to 6F. All units, sound off with status updates. He tapped his comms. Sky Wing, Sector 5C. Nothing to report. Mirage, Sector 7D. All clear. Enigma, Sector 4A clear. Torque, Sector 7B. No, wait. Tensei slowed. Torque? Ingenium, this is Torque. Priority alert, Mirage is with me right now. She was attacked and her comm was stolen approximately 6 or 7 minutes ago. Tensei stopped. What? Confirm, Mirage is physically with you right now? Affirmative. She's right here. A cold feeling settled in his gut. 7 minutes ago. They'd been reporting every 2 minutes. Protocol. Which means, then who the hell has been responding on her channel for the last 7 minutes? Silence on the line. Complete silence. They're all realizing it. Someone had been in their comms. Listening to everything. Just then, a new unfamiliar voice came through the line with a sigh of disappointment. Well, that sucks. Tensei hit his comm. Who is this? Identify. Crunch, plastic and circuitry crushed. Static. Nothing. Tensei hit the comm again. All units, this is Ingenium. Emergency protocol, cease operations immediately. An unknown hostile infiltrated our communications. Do not trust any orders unless visually confirmed. Regroup at Rally Point Bravo. Now, responses came in quick. Copy. En route. Understood. Tensei leaped toward the rally point, engines flaring. This isn't good. An infiltrator. In their network. For at least 5 minutes. What did we say? What positions did we give away? And worse, was Stain working alone? Or was this someone else? He crossed another rooftop, engines kicking as he cleared the alley between buildings. Then, he felt it. Right then and there, a heavy, oppressive feeling filled with the intent to kill. Danger, his instincts screamed. Thud. His boots hit the next rooftop hard, turning toward the alley below. Dark. Narrow. Empty. Except it wasn't. It's him. Tensei's dropped into the alley below. It was barely wide enough for 2 people side by side. Trash bags lined one wall. A rusted fire escape clung to the other. 30 meters ahead, the passage bent sharply left. Tensei slowed as he approached the corner. Standing at the center was a man wrapped in tattered red cloth and dark, patchwork armor. Bandages covered most of his face, leaving only his eyes visible. It's you. It was the same description given by the victims. Hero killer. Tensei's fists clenched. You're under arrest. Drop your weapons and Suren, whoosh. The blade came before he could finish. Shit. Tensei jerked sideways. The knife grazed his shoulder plate, sparking off the reinforced material before clattering against the wall. Turning his gaze, Stain was already pivoting for another strike, using the narrow alley to close in before Tensei could accelerate. Ingenium fired his engines, leaping backward as a blade slashed past the area he once stood. Very well. I'll have to take you in by force. Stain didn't respond. Ingenium landed on his feet, engines thrumming with energy. Recipro, Tensei dodged as a second knife sliced past his ribs. He barely stabilized himself after canceling his Recipro when he was forced to block the third with his gauntlet. He's faster than the reports. Tensei skidded back, engines whining as he forced space between them. His gauntlet stung from the impact. Stain advanced without a word. Tensei kicked his engines again, blasting sideways to reset the distance. The instant his boots touched down, Stain was already in front of him. What? Squlch steel punched into Tensei's abdomen, just under the reinforced panel. A hot bloom spread across his side, blood seeping out. Ugh. Tensei staggered, grabbing the attacker's wrist on instinct. Stain twisted free with almost casual efficiency, stepping back just far enough that the blade slid cleanly out. It had only been 10 seconds at most. Thud. Ingenium retreated while clutching his wounded side. eyes never leaving the opponent. Stain watched him quietly, head tilting as if assessing a malfunctioning machine. "You heroes," he said. The voice was low, and sounded somewhat annoyed. "Always louder than you are competent." He dragged the flat of the stained blade across his bandages, then lifted it toward his face. "This is Ingenium. Code Red, I found." The blood touched the hero killer's tongue. And for Ingenium, everything stopped. Tensei's knees buckled instantly, the weight of his own body crashing down on him as if gravity had doubled. RRGH. His fingers spasmed. His engine sputtered out, coughing blue sparks before dying entirely. The pain in his abdomen flared white-hot, but he couldn't move a muscle. Paralysis. Struggling won't work. The sound of footsteps fell into his ears until he could see the hero killer's feet right in front of his face. A weak type. I suppose that suits your reputation. He flicked the blade, scattering droplets of red against the alley walk. How pathetic. Tensei gritted his teeth. Pathetic? Your earlier statements to take me in by force. Without the ability to back it up. Coming alone against me. Was it arrogance or pride? Veins appeared on his forehead. This has nothing to do with pride, criminal scum. You will pay for the things you've. Ingenium stiffened. A wave of cold killing intent slammed into him, halting his breath. What is this? Stain's eyes grew cold. The turbo hero Ingenium. So easily scared of said criminal scum. How disappointing. Your engines. Your speed. Your name. All wasted. Tensei's vision blurred. Not from blood loss, fear. You don't get the right to say that. I think I do. Heroes like you cling to a title without embodying the ideal. You wear the symbol but don't bear the burden. His eyes narrowed, raising his katana. You disgust me. His eyes settled on the lower waist. He would reclaim the title, hero, from this fraud. Tensei gritted his teeth and pushed. Unfortunately, his body refused to obey him. Move. Please, move. Stain raised the blade. Ting. Something sharp cut the air. Stain jerked sideways, instincts reacting before thought. He twisted, batting it aside with the flat of his sword while ripping a throwing knife from his belt and hurling it upward in one motion. Clang. The knife spun through the air, caught mid-flight by a gloved hand. He dodged that, More shot towards him. Stain leaped backwards, weapons embedding into his previous position. A figure dropped into the alley from above, landing between Stain and Ingenium with a quiet thud. Black clothing. Silver hair. Dark mask covering the lower half of his face. Phew. That was a close call. The figure spun the knife and tossed it aside. It clattered against the pavement. I almost didn't make it. Ingenium's eyes widened. Someone had come to save him. Is he a pro? He examined the look. There was a green vest over dark clothing, fingerless gloves, and combat boots. And, weapons? Are those kitchen knives? His thoughts shifted. Forget that. His costume doesn't really look like one of a pro's. Plus I've never seen or heard of someone like him before. Meaning he's either a unknown pro or... You. He called out with difficulty. I don't know who you are, but you can't be here. It's too dangerous. Tensei's eyes turned to Stain. He can paralyze you with a single cut. Don't attack him. He only wants me. Save yourself. Stain's eyes narrowed. Self-sacrifice. He snorted, reassessing this false hero. At least he's not that far gone. Leaving him alive to spread the word will be good enough. The new arrival didn't move. Didn't you hear me? Go and get help. Don't worry about me. Thanks, but I'm not here for you. The masked man uttered without looking back. Huh? Tensei was stunned. Wasn't he here too? Hello, Stain. Ignoring Ingenium, the masked man clasped his fists together, focusing on the hero killer. I've been dying to meet you. So this is Stain. Yuta, or rather, the shadow clone wearing the makeshift vigilante guise, took a slow measure of the man before him. Stain looked exactly like the report said, lean, wiry, wrapped in red and black rags. Eyes sharp to a predatory point. Every muscle coiled, and eyes like that of a fanatic. The katana was a grim extension of his will, and the collected air of bloodlust around him was almost physical, thick and suffocating like a gas leak. Calm. Calm, he thought, resisting the urge to clench his fists. Even with nearly a month of buffer time in between, the impulse to tear into the hero killer wasn't going anywhere. He could control his expression. His tone. Even the micro-movements of his facial muscles. But the intent. The heavy, suppressed part of a person that wanted violence, was harder. He pushed it down. This is a clone body with limited chakra. Fragile. Even with my quirk, one fatal hit and I'm done. Vengeance was a slippery slope. And now as a clone, he had limits. Killing Stain here, with no real plan, no backup, and no certainty, was close to impossible. And wrong. His mother wouldn't forgive that line being crossed. Had it been a month ago, perhaps he wouldn't have been able to control himself. It was different now. He wasn't here to kill Stain, nor was he sure he could do it. Revenge would come, but it wasn't happening today. The main reason for this confrontation was twofold: to save Ingenium from being crippled and to gather actionable intelligence on Stain's current strength and combat style. TCH. To think, even with the whole incident, Ingenium still found Stain. I was almost too late. In the distance, Stain's eyes narrowed. Your dressing doesn't look like a pro's. Who are you? The masked man cracked his knuckles, a casual, almost bored gesture. An old friend. I don't have any friends. Stain's voice was as flat as iron as he raised his sword. If you're not a pro, then you're not my target. I'll give you a chance. Leave now. Sorry, can't, Kaizome. Stain's pupils shrank into slits. You know me? Intimately, he answered. And not at all. Stain's grip tightened on the katana. Very well then. He moved. Die. A sudden, explosive snap of motion trained from years of murdering people who moved slower than thought. The blade whipped toward the masked man's throat. Yuta's body leaned left by a hair. The steel sliced the air a millimeter from his neck. Stain didn't pause. His other hand drew a blade low from his ribs and sliced upward. Thud. A palm caught the wrist mid-strike. The katana came back around in a horizontal arc. Another hand rose, deflecting it by the flat, not the edge. Yuta's eyes, hidden beneath the contact lenses he wore, had turned into a three-tomo Sharingan. He's fast. But I can see it. The precognition wasn't perfect. It showed intent, trajectory, and the micro-shifts in muscle tension that preceded movement. But his body still had to react. With his previous encounter with Overhaul and the hospitalization afterwards, he had no time to focus on exercising his physique. However, while physically weak, he could still do wonders when enhanced with chakra. Good move. Feeling the strength pushing against him, Stain commented and shifted his stance. Yuta was caught off guard as Stain pulled back, then attacked again. 3 strikes, feints mixed with real intent. Left shoulder. Right thigh. Center mass. Yuta sidestepped the first, twisted away from the second, and threw a kitchen knife to intercept the third. Clang. Steel met cheap iron. Stain's blade knocked the kitchen knife aside and slashed where Yuta stood a moment ago. His body flickered backward, boots skidding across the concrete as he put 5 meters between them. That speed. Stain's eyes narrowed even further. A teleportation quirk, he muttered. Yuta didn't respond, replaying every scene in his mind with precise accuracy. That was actually better than I thought it would be. The thought gave the clone a momentary, cold surge of confidence. His physical body was currently underdeveloped, but the raw speed granted by chakra-enhanced reflexes and the Shunshin technique was enough to compensate for his utter lack of combat training. He saw the danger, and the chakra moved him to evade it. 2 paces behind him, Ingenium watched with wide eyes. Who is he? Impressive. Stain didn't attack immediately. Even though your movements show that you lack formal training. To predict my attacks and react appropriately shows your fighting instinct is superb. Stain lowered his center of gravity, blade angled down in a predatory line. But instinct alone won't save you. He dashed forward with explosive speed, swinging his katana. He's faster. Yuta's Sharingan tracked his movements and dodged the strike. Stain seemed to expect it. This time, he replied not just in speed but on complex, unpredictable movements, mixing the flat of the blade with the edge, aiming to confuse and expose. Each move was predicted and dodged in advance. Good combat instincts. Stain thought. But your agility isn't enough. He lunged with the katana low, then feinted a retreat, only to transition instantly into a high slash with his short blade aimed at the masked man's neck. Whoosh! The attack hit nothing but air. TCH. That again. Stain frowned as Yuta emerged in the air. Several blades shot towards him. He brings cutlery to fight a killer. The hero killer swatted them aside. He was running out of time. At the beginning, he sought a single cut to end this, but the masked man had proved more capable than expected. Fast, strong, and able to react to his attacks. His quirk made him invulnerable to a quick kill. Heroes were searching for him throughout Hosu. If he stayed here, he would be surrounded. That's enough. His earlier intention to leave Ingenium alive evaporated. He needed to end this now. Stain quickly ripped a throwing knife from his belt and hurled it straight at Ingenium's paralyzed body. The blade flew true, aimed for the head. Ingenium, still regaining feeling, felt a cold dread of imminent death. Sichanenk. The knife stopped a centimeter from Ingenium's skull, caught in the gloved hand of the masked man, who had shunshined from 5 meters away to stand directly in front of the fallen hero. Got him. Stain's eyes narrowed in satisfaction. His intention had been clear, Ingenium was bait. The masked man wanted the hero alive. Stain rushed forward, covering the distance in an instant, katana raised for a final, overhead slash. Let's see how you get out of this one. Just as his blade descended, the 6 kitchen knives Yuta had thrown out earlier, knives scattered and embedded in the concrete, suddenly shot out from their scattered locations. They zipped across the pavement, their trajectories bending toward the advancing hero killer. Stain was stunned. A quirk of telekinesis? He tried to adjust his body to defend, the surprise momentarily costing him speed. He succeeded. Managing to defend 2 aimed at his vital spots, but the rest sank in, 1 in his shoulder, 1 in his side, and 2 in his thighs. Pain shot through his body, quickly suppressed by his mental fortitude and years of training. However, in that split second before he could recover, Yuta appeared right in front of him, having used the knife distraction to close the gap with a shunshin. A chakra-enhanced and chakra-condensed punch shot out, carrying a focused, pressurized force of pure energy. It landed squarely in Stain's face, a sickening crack. Whump! Stain was launched backward like a cannonball. Success! Yuta thought, feeling the immense power of the strike ripple through his arm. However, even as he flew backward, Stain, driven by pure instinct and fanaticism, shot his spiked boots upward. The sharp point of the toe was aimed to pierce Yuta's hand, the hand that had just delivered the blow. Yuta saw it clearly. The precognition of the Sharingan showed the spikes impacting his wrist. But the body flicker technique was already spent on the advance, and the sheer speed of Stain's counter was too fast for his untrained body to completely evade. Stain crashed to the floor, rolling twice before stabilizing himself against the alley wall. At the same instant, Yuta's body gave out under the fatal damage. The masked man's form dissolved in a bright cloud of smoke. Ingenium's eyes widened. He exploded? Stain's gaze swept to his feet, expecting to see a pool of blood to lick up, desperate for the paralysis agent to take hold. However, nothing was there. What the? His gaze snapped back to the dissipating smoke. As the white cloud cleared, Yuta was still standing there. He was whole, except for his right arm, the one that had delivered the punch, which was gone from the elbow down, having been the part that took the spiked boot's damage. Silence filled the alley. Until... well, that sucks. In the world of Naruto, the shadow clone jutsu was particularly inconsistent. In most fights, it was especially fragile, dissipating with a blunt force attack. In others, it was durable enough to throw hands with kages and gods. Yuta had figured out the mechanics after gaining it himself. It ultimately all scales to chakra amount Ha. Shadow clones would dissipate once struck hard enough, and any deep wounds would cause the same effect. The more chakra the clone had, the easier it was to withstand said damage. No wonder normal Jonin hardly ever used it. Besides the drawback of having to evenly split your chakra, it couldn't even take a really good hit without strong reinforcement. Lucky me. I'm special. He watched as smoke drifted around the severed stump of his arm. Still, I never expected the sensation to be so lifelike. The shadow clone was essentially a jutsu that created copies of your physical likeness using nothing but chakra. Once the equilibrium of the technique was shaken by a strong enough intrusion, the chakra would riot and break apart in a split second. What Yuta had done was simple. Force that equilibrium back into place using his quirk. As expected. A clone's structural integrity drops sharply after major impact. Chakra density is too low to regenerate the limb. I'll have to make do. Well, that sucks. Ingenium stiffened at the familiar words. I've heard that before. He remembered. The voice from the comms when Torque warned about the infiltrator. It was the same words, with the same voice. It's him. Yuta didn't notice Tensei's reaction. Stain's last-minute strike had forced him to divert his attention from controlling the blades embedded into his body to stabilize his clone body. Barely a second, but a second in a battle could turn the tides. Push. Yuta's chakra flowed in large amounts as he willed the blades to drill in deeper. Squelch. Blood spurted. However, two hands clamped onto the weapons on Stain's upper body before they could do more damage. Enough? Then pulled them out forcefully, tearing bone and flesh in the process. Yuta's mind moved. The earlier deflected knives flew upward and shot towards him, while the blades still in Stain's thighs pierced deeper. Get out of my way already. Ignoring the pain, Stain drew 3 throwing knives and threw them at the enemy. 2 collided with Yuta's weapons and the last went straight for Yuta's chest. TCH. Yuta clicked his tongue and dodged. In that moment, Stain retreated, forcefully pulling the knives out of his legs and slamming them against the ground. The blades shattered into pieces. It was a kitchen knife after all. The marked knives knocked away by Stain course-corrected back to their target. Even with his legs injured, Stain leapt away. Seriously? Yuta thought, sweat accumulating on his forehead. He wanted to control more to attack, only to feel the strain increase to manipulate them. It seems I'm out, he frowned behind his mask. Normally, this wouldn't be an issue. Though surprisingly better, he had never expected to beat Stain easily with a clone body to begin with. He had come with the mentality of a test run to get a grasp of the hero killer's strength for the next confrontation. Beat him if you can, gather experience if you can't. It ultimately didn't matter whether he died here. It was just a clone disguised using his quirk. There was just one problem. Ingenium was still paralyzed. Crack. In the distance, Stain embedded his sword into the wall and stood on it. The searing pain flooding through his muscles were suppressed by his excellent muscle control and sheer mental fortitude. Damn it. The fact he could still use his arms and legs after such damage was astonishing. However, willpower was ultimately willpower. It didn't change the fact that he was bleeding out in torrents at the moment and his muscles ached beyond belief. His speed and power had been compromised, while a lesser man would have fallen already. I have to hand it to you. Stain uttered with cold eyes. You're more troublesome than I imagined. Blood flowed from his wounds, forming a small puddle on the pavement beneath him. His quirk is different from what I initially anticipated. What's worse, I can't get any blood from him. Blood dripped steadily from him as he stared down at the masked vigilante. His breaths came ragged, but his eyes didn't waver. TCH. He tasted iron. Too much of it. This body won't last much longer, he muttered to himself. His gaze shifted to Ingenium, still frozen on the ground. You're alive today by circumstance, Stain said. His voice dropped into a rasp. Not because you deserve to be. Ingenium tried to speak but failed, only able to glare up at him. Count yourself lucky, Ingenium. Learn from this experience, and spread the good word, Stain continued, looming over him from the wall he stood on. Me. The next time we cross paths, you will be culled. As for you. His attention returned to Yuta. You're no hero, but I can see the conviction in your eyes. That alone makes you a worthy opponent. Yuta's face frowned even more. Before he could say anything, Stain leaped upwards, climbing the buildings with rapid speed for his injuries and landing on the roof. Before sheathing his sword. Let's decide our fate another time. This battle is over. Those were his last words before vanishing over the rooftops. Yuta didn't move to stop him. The masked man stood in the center of the alley, the scent of fresh blood thick in the air. The stump of his right arm pulsed, the chakra working frantically to seal the structure before the whole clone dispersed. Final analysis, Stain is a powerhouse of speed and pain tolerance. His primary weakness is his quirk's prerequisite, ingesting blood. Yuta mentally reviewed the fight. The kinetic energy from the chakra punch alone would have shattered the face of a normal person, yet Stain had survived the damage and somehow had the clarity to try to counter. And I'm out of chakra, he confirmed. The energy cost had been astronomical, multiple shunshin uses, localized self-repair, and continuous chakra manipulation of the knives. He only had half his regular chakra capacity, and part of it had gone to maintaining his very form since its creation. He had enough power left for one more action, maximum. Let's get this over with. He turned toward Ingenium. The hero was still down, but his fingers were twitching. He's alive. Good. Yuta dropped to one knee beside the paralyzed hero, placing his remaining hand on Tensei's shoulder. Stay with me, Yuta said quietly. The paralysis will wear off in a few minutes. Just breathe. Ingenium's breath hitched, not from pain, but realization. You. His voice struggled out, rigid. You were. In the comms. So he noticed. Yuta looked away. This really isn't the time. Who are you? Tensei managed, fingers twitching faintly as the paralysis began to lose its grip. Vigilante, hero, what? Yuta didn't answer, currently considering whether to take Ingenium away from the alley or leave him here. Meanwhile, in the sky. Whoosh! The distinct, loud rush of compressed air signaled the rapid arrival of the cavalry. In the distance, a figure clad in dark blue and gray with massive, stylized wings, Watchbird, a prominent member of Team Ida 10, flew directly overhead, sweeping Hosu for the source of the recent alarms. Watchbird's sharp aerial gaze immediately fixed on the alley. The sight, a hero lying prone, copious amounts of blood coating the ground, and a masked, silver-haired individual holding the captain of the Ingenium agency, was clear. This is Watchbird to command. I have visual contact with Ingenium and an unknown hostile, code red. Deploy ground teams immediately to Alley 4, south of the main train station. The wind from Watchbird's wings whipped through the alley as he circled once more, lowering altitude. Yuta clicked his tongue. Great. Just when everything is over, they conveniently show up. Unknown hostile. Watchbird barked, amplifying through her visor speakers. Step away from Ingenie. Her words ceased as the man below stood up and began walking away. That settles that. Let's get out of here. He raised his hand to form the ram seal when, freeze. A figure yelled as they descended right in front of him. Stay where you are and don't take another step. The figure was a burly male with stone-skin arms in a dark red uniform. Yuta raised an eyebrow. Which is it? Walk away or freeze. Behind him, Watchbird descended, landing beside Ingenium. Captain. Are you injured? Can you move? I'm fine. It's just the hero killer's paralysis quirk, Ingenium answered, voice still stiff. It's wearing off. So he's the hero killer. In front of Yuta, Earthshaker's gaze grew colder. I am not. Yuta replied with a twitching vein. Heroes flooded both entrances now. Enigma, Mirage, Torque. A dozen eyes locked onto him. Half of them wary, the other half angry. And none willing to let him walk out. Hands up where I can see them. Torque shouted. Mirage's eyes widened as he got a clear look at Yuta's mask. That's him. The imposter from before. I really don't have time for this. Yuta let out a light chuckle. Earthshaker stepped forward, stone-coated arms growing thicker as his quirk reacted to his rising pulse. Unknown vigilante, surrender. Now. Surrender? Torque snarled. Don't play dumb. You sabotaged an S-rank operation, impersonated our comms, engaged a high-profile murderer, and endangered civilians. You're not walking away. Yuta tilted his head, unimpressed. I literally kept your captain alive. You're welcome, by the way. That doesn't change what you did. Mirage snapped, hand moving to her weapon. You attacked me. Stole my equipment. Compromised our entire operation, and saved Ingenium from being crippled, Yuta interrupted, voice flat. Which, if you're keeping score, kinda balances out. Torque moved to flank him. That's not how the law works. Funny. The law didn't show up when Stain had a blade to his throat. Silence. Several heroes shifted uncomfortably. Earthshaker's stone fists clenched. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Am I? Watchbird stepped forward, positioning herself between Yuta and the others. Her voice was measured and professional. Listen. We don't know who you are or what your goal was tonight. But the fact remains, you interfered with an active hero operation. That's illegal, regardless of outcome. Yuta said nothing. Watchbird continued. If you cooperate now, we can sort this out properly. But if you resist, you'll what? Yuta's tone didn't shift. Chase me? Catch me? Behind them, Ingenium finally managed to push himself fully upright. His legs were still shaky, but the paralysis was fading. He took a slow breath. Everyone, stand down. The other heroes hesitated. Captain, I said stand down. Ingenium's voice carried authority despite the strain. Give us space. Reluctantly, the others backed off, though Mirage's glare never left Yuta. Ingenium stepped forward, engines still sputtering faintly. His eyes locked onto the masked man. I need to know, he said quietly. Why? Yuta tilted his head. Why what? Why save me? Why risk everything to stop Stain? Ingenium's jaw tightened. You're not a hero. You're not registered. You clearly have your own agenda. He gestured at the blood-stained alley. So why? Yuta was silent for a long moment. Then he shrugged. Maybe I just don't like watching people die. Ingenium studied him carefully. I don't believe that. Another pause. Then Ingenium straightened fully, despite the pain. Regardless of your reasons, you saved my life tonight. And for that, I'm grateful. His expression hardened. But gratitude doesn't override the law. Yuta raised an eyebrow in amusement. I'm sorry. What? Ingenium's helmet visor reflected the harsh alley light. He was conflicted, but his sense of duty was absolute. I thank you for saving me. You are owed a debt of gratitude for that. But you infiltrated a pro-hero team's mission, and you're not a pro. Unlicensed quirk usage and intent to harm mean you need to be arrested. He paused. Come quietly, and I promise I will help you the best I can. Yuta rolled his eyes, a theatrical movement that suggested utter boredom. Get a load of these guys. The only reason he was still here was simply to see how these heroes would react to his presence. Now that he had his answer, the time for reconnaissance was over. All right then. He raised his right hand in a familiar sign, the ram seal. See ya. Then, with a practiced burst of expelled chakra, the body of the shadow clone exploded into a dense cloud of white smoke. Get back. Everyone backed away warily. When the smoke cleared, the pavement was empty. The masked man was gone. He blew up. Mirage stammered, bewildered. No, Captain, the Earth hero said, shaking his head. I don't smell blood or see any residue. It was his quirk, no doubt. Captain, what now? Ingenium didn't answer immediately. He stared at the empty space, then up toward the dark rooftops where Stain had disappeared. Mirage, secure the area. Torque, Earthshaker, assist the officers. Watchbird, we need a full sweep for Stain. He looked down at the blood-slicked pavement where his supposed savior had just vanished in a puff of smoke. Earthshaker nodded grimly. And the vigilante? Ingenium exhaled, slow and conflicted. He saved my life. But he's still a criminal until we learn otherwise. He turned away, wincing as the last traces of paralysis left his legs. Move out. We're done here. The heroes dispersed into the streets. Alone for a heartbeat, Ingenium looked back one last time at the empty space where the masked stranger had stood. Who are you? The quiet was almost peaceful. Far from the roaring stadium, Yuta sat on a bench in the maintenance hallway, elbows resting on his knees. A small notepad lay balanced on his thigh, half filled with scribbled chakra flow diagrams. He flicked his fingers through a half-formed hand seal when a soft pop echoed inside his skull. He froze mid-motion then, FWSSSH. A rush of images flooded into him all at once. Yuta's head felt like it had been cracked by a sledgehammer. Stain. The alley. Ingenium collapsing against the wall. Heroes surrounding the clone. The ram seal. Smoke. Silence. The clone's entire 4 hours of existence replayed in his mind like a film on fast-forward. Yuta blinked. Well. That happened. For a moment he just stood there, shoulders rising and falling with a slow exhale as the Hosu encounter settled in the back of his thoughts. So I held out that long, huh? And they tried to arrest me. Figures. I saved the guy and I'm still public enemy #something. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. Ingenium wasn't crippled. Good. As for Stain escaping, Yuta had long been prepared for it. Well, the heroes probably think I'm some criminal mastermind now or something. He rubbed his chin in thought. Whatever. Just then, the stadium's loudspeaker, though muffled, suddenly boomed loud enough to cut through the reinforced walls. And he's Well, she's done it. Hatsum has finally exhausted her promotional materials and is out of bounds. In a very strange turn of events, the win goes to Class 1's Tenya Ida. This is the craziest sports festival I've ever had the pleasure to commentate on. Yuta blinked at the wall. Oh. Right. The festival. His expression twitched with amusement. Of course. While his clone was stopping a murderer and arguing with pro-heroes, Ida here was being punted around by a walking sponsorship deal. He checked the maintenance area's low-hanging clock. 1:22 p.m. He'd left the stadium around 12:58 p.m., right after the Kaminari/Shiozaki match finished. Time to go back then. He started walking again, heading toward the arena entrances. The next round of matches was something he wanted to see. Especially the seventh one. The stadium speakers roared back to life with present mix unmistakable energy. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, a clash of quirks, styles, and vibes. Please welcome to the arena. Class 1's Dark Avenger of the Night, Tokoyami Fumikage. The crowd cheered as Tokoyami stepped onto the field. And facing him, the Acid Queen herself. The slippery striking superstar, Ashido Mina. Mina walked in striking a sparkly pose that sent half the audience into laughter and the other half into cheers. Yuta walked through the entrance to the General Studies viewing section right as Present Mike finished his intro. The rush of crowd noise washed over him. Before he could take 3 steps inside, Yuta. Hana noticed him, waving both arms over her head like she was signaling a rescue helicopter. There you are. Where were you? She demanded, pointing dramatically. You missed so much. Several heads in their class turned toward him with a mix of curiosity, and, bro, you missed so much energy. I stepped out for a bit. It can't be that much. A bit. Kimura practically grabbed his sleeve. Dude. You missed so much. The last 2 matches were insane. Insane. First Zero got absolutely demolished by Todoroki, like, tsunami scale demolished. There was ice everywhere. They had to delay the next match just to clean the arena. I saw. And then, Hatsum turned the arena into a live commercial. Poor Ida didn't know whether to fight or sign an endorsement deal. Yuta shrugged. Sounds like I missed the festival's peak entertainment. I know, right? Though it seems all the attention is going to Class 1A. Their class is outrageous. It's normal. Yuta replied. They alone occupied 13 spots. Alright, let's get this show on the road. Start. And that's it. Mina Ashido is out of bounds. Tokoyami Fumikage advances to the next round. Present Mix voice cracked over the speakers as the crowd roared. Yuta blinked. Mina sat on her but outside the ring, looking both dazed and impressed as dark shadow receded back into Tokoyami's torso. Tokoyami gave a stiff bow. Midnight waved her whip. Match over. Tokoyami wins. Wait, Yuta muttered. Hana tilted her head. Something wrong? Yuta slapped his palm against his forehead. Oh my god. I've seen this before. Kimura snorted. Yeah? From the last 10 seconds? Yeah, I guess. Of course not. Yuta dragged a hand down his face. That's why it looked so familiar. Tokoyami versus Mina. It actually happened in canon. They fought in the next round after they both advanced. He clicked his tongue. A minute later, Present Mike continued his enthusiastic barrage. Alright, the hype train keeps on rolling. For our 6th match of the second round, we have 2 of Class 1's heavy hitters. Yuta's attention snapped back to the arena. Time to confirm the next piece of the new sequence. First up, the creation quirk genius who got in on recommendations, Yaoyorozu Momo. Momo walked out, her expression determined but noticeably tense. And facing her, the strongman with the sweetest tooth, he's ready to rumble, Sato Rikido. Sato stepped onto the platform, already looking keyed up. Midnight cracked her whip. Begin. Sato immediately tore into 3 sugar cubes and roared as his muscles bulked up. Fueled by his sugar rush quirk, he sprinted straight across the arena, a human bulldozer of muscle and speed. Momo reacted instantly, her quirk activating as she tried to form a shield made of solid steel, but Sato was already on her. Crash! Sato's momentum slammed into the half-formed creation. The steel crumpled with a sound like tearing paper. Momo barely managed to jump back, her eyes wide with shock. She tried to create a polearm for distance, but Sato was relentless. He pressed his advantage, not giving her a chance to complete any complex creation. Every time her quirk manifested, Sato's massive, sugar-enhanced arms shattered it, forcing her backward step by painful step. No hard feelings. Sato grunted even as his adrenaline-fueled rush propelled him forward. Momo stumbled, desperately trying to create a smoke bomb for cover, but she misjudged the boundary line. Sato, trying to avoid making direct contact, swung wide and his shoulder lightly grazed her, enough to send her final step over the white line. Midnight's whip snapped again. Yaoyorozu is out of bounds. Sato Rikido advances. Sato froze, blushing through his beefy silhouette. Oh. Sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I was just, trying my best. Momo bowed politely, though her smile was tight. No. You did wonderfully. I simply didn't adapt fast enough. Watching, Hana winced sympathetically. Oof. Poor girl. Kimura nodded. Yep. That was brutal. Right, Yuta? Yuta shrugged. What's there to say? It was a bad matchup. Simple as that. Yuta is right. Tanaka added. Some quirks just have strong restraint against other types. The Yaoyorozu from Class 1A probably couldn't display her strengths, as her quirk requires sufficient prep time to make a major impact. Against a brawler with high speed, strength, and defense. He didn't say more. Hana let out a long sigh as Momo and Sato exited the field. You're probably right. But her quirk was creation. It sounded so cool. Is it wrong that I kinda expected more from her? Yuta rolled his eyes. Sato's advanced and so has Tokoyami. So the next matchup should be. He looked up at the large screen as the bracket shuffled once more. The names for the next match flashed large and bright. Match 7, Katsuki Bakugo vs Izuku Midoriya. Yuta gave a slow nod. Now, this is the main event. He didn't need the canon timeline to know how this would go. Midoriya, currently a walking glass cannon, was facing Bakugo, a fighter who specialized in high speed, unpredictable offense, and incredible aerial mobility. This wouldn't be like the static confrontation with Todoroki. This was going to be a disaster. Get ready to rumble, folks. Present Mike screamed, his voice hitting a hysterical pitch. It's the clash you don't see every day. Two childhood rivals, finally facing off. His words drew the attention of the audience. Present Mike continued. In Lane 1, the green powerhouse with a heart of pure determination, Midoriya Iya Izuku. Midoriya walked out, his face a mix of fierce concentration and sheer dread. Come on, Deku. You can do it. Uraraka cheered from Class 1A viewing area. Ida similarly cheered. Do your best, Midoriya. And in Lane 2, the human hand grenade, the explosive prodigy who took first place in the entrance exams, Bakugo Katsuki. Bakugo stomped into the arena like he owned it. Chin up, eyes sharp, palms already sparking. His eyes were locked on Midoriya, carrying something else that wasn't the usual rage. Finally. Midoriya swallowed. Kacchan. You have no idea how long I've waited for this moment. His eyes narrowed. The chance to show the world just where you stand. He slammed his hand against his fist. A small explosion followed. Midoriya swallowed even harder. Shut up and listen, Deku. Bakugo hissed across the stadium. Don't you dare hold back. I don't want any excuses after I beat you. Midoriya paused. Slowly, the nervousness and uncertainties drained away, replaced by that determination that would follow him throughout his story. You already know I won't, Kaken. Midnight raised her whip. Contestants, ready? Midoriya got into a battle stance. Bakugo's hands ignited, explosions popping like firecrackers. Begin. Bakugo moved first. Boom. His palms ignited, launching him forward in a diagonal arc across the arena. The acceleration was instant, 0 to explosive in half a heartbeat. Midoriya barely had time to react. He's coming straight at me. He raised his arm, channeling one for all into his right index finger. Bakugo twisted midair, angling his body sideways. Boom. Another explosion sent him veering left, completely dodging the predicted trajectory. Midoriya's finger flicked forward anyway. Crack. The shockwave tore through the air where Bakugo should have been, but wasn't. The blast carved a trench into the concrete behind him. Bakugo landed in a low crouch, palms already aimed. Too slow, DKU. Boom. 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 A rapid-fire barrage of explosions peppered the ground around Midoriya, forcing him to leap backward. Smoke and debris clouded the air. Midoriya landed hard, his finger already throbbing from the first flick. Boom. Bakugo burst through the smoke like a missile, fist cocked back. Midoriya's eyes widened. Already? He braced. Bakugo twisted, detonating point-blank in front of Midoriya's guard. Bathum Midoriya flew back, body rolling numerous times on the concrete. Damn it. He tried his best to get a grip. Planting his legs and arms until he eventually came to a stop. Raising his head, the first thing he saw was the boundary line of the ring. What luck! Midoriya stabilized himself before he was blown out of the ring. The crowd erupted in cheers. Boom! Bakugo shot forward. He was going to utilize this opportunity to the fullest for a dominating win, without giving Midoriya any chance to fight back. Come on, Deku. Try harder. Midoriya's face changed. He raised his hand without hesitation. Crack. Another Delaware smash, point blank. The shockwave collided with Bakugo's explosion, overwhelming the latter and creating a violent burst of air pressure that sent him flying backward. Midoriya's left index finger bent at an unnatural angle. Pain shot up his arm. Damn it. This isn't easy. In the distance, Bakugo quickly used his explosions to control his trajectory, regaining his balance midair. Bakugo landed on his feet, grinning through the smoke. Not bad, Deku. You actually hit me that time. The audience had begun whispering. Hana winced. Ouch, that looked painful. Kimura nodded. I'll say. The green-haired guy's quirk looks pretty powerful. Yeah. Too powerful for himself. 2 blasts for 2 fingers. Is it worth it? There's recovery, girl, remember? Midoriya gritted his teeth, cradling his broken fingers. He's too fast. I can't predict where he'll come from, Bakugo crouched low. But you're still too damn predictable. Boom. He flew upwards. Midoriya's gaze followed as he aimed. Then, Bakugo twisted midair, using another explosion to change direction at the last second. He came in low instead. What? Boom. An explosion detonated right in Midoriya's face. The force sent him tumbling backward, arms flailing as he tried to regain balance. Bakugo didn't let up. He landed, spun, and launched again, this time aiming a spinning heel kick enhanced by a perfectly timed blast. Midoriya raised his arm desperately, crack. Third finger. Another shockwave. But Bakugo had already adjusted, using the recoil from his own explosion to spiral out of range. The shockwave missed entirely. Midoriya's breathing was ragged now. 3 fingers down. His right hand was a mangled mess. I can't keep this up. He's not giving me time to aim, come on, Deku. Bakugo roared, landing in the center of the arena. Is that all you've got? His palms crackled with stored sweat, sparks dancing across his gauntlets. I told you not to hold back. Midoriya's jaw tightened. He's right. I can't afford to hesitate. He raised his left hand, channeling one for all into his middle finger. If I can't hit him directly, I'll force him into a corner. He aimed at the ground between them. Crack. The shockwave tore through the concrete, sending chunks of debris flying upward in a wide arc. Bakugo's eyes widened. A smokescreen? The dust cloud exploded outward, obscuring the entire center of the arena. For a moment, the crowd held its breath. Then, boom! Bakugo blasted straight through the debris cloud, emerging on the other side with pinpoint precision. But Midoriya wasn't there. Where? His eyes widened. Up. Bakugo looked up. Midoriya was falling toward him, arm raised, one leg mangled, finger aimed directly down. He jumped during the smokescreen. Crack. The shockwave came down like a hammer. Bakugo crossed his arms, bracing, boom. He fired both palms upward, meeting the shockwave head-on. The two forces collided midair. Crack. The resulting explosion sent a shockwave rippling across the entire stadium. So strong. Damn. Just the shockwaves are this fierce. Are these seriously first years? The audience shielded their faces as dust spread across the arena. Come on, Deku. Uraraka gripped the railings, her knuckles turning white. Ida adjusted his glasses. Midoriya is at a severe disadvantage. Bakugo's mobility allows him to dictate the pace entirely. Kirishima nodded grimly. Yeah. And Midoriya's quirk is too slow. Every time he fires, Bakugo's already moved. Aizawa thought the same thing. His power is weaker, but at least he isn't a one-time consumable anymore. Compared to the last battle training and the USJ, he had improved, though not much. But it's gonna take more than that to win. Present Mike yelled in the commentator's booth. What a clash of powers. Who came out on top? The smoke cleared to show 2 figures. Katsuki Bakugo, standing without so much as breaking a sweat. On the other end, Midoriya was on the ground, clutching his broken hand. 4 fingers turned purple. Come on, Deku. The voice fell into his ears, causing him to clench his fist. Don't you want to be a hero? To stand up to me? Bakugo raised a hand sparking with explosions. Are you going to give up now? His grin was feral. Midoriya's breath trembled as he pushed himself upright, every movement sending needles of pain through his ruined hand. I'm not. He wheezed, giving up. Bakugo's eye twitched. Then show me. Bakugo blasted forward. Midoriya fired his finger at point-blank range. Or what should have been point-blank as Bakugo fired an explosion to dodge overhead at the last second. Midoriya's eyes widened as the shockwave missed. The next moment, 2 hands gripped his hair and collar. Show me why you suddenly think you're on my level, after years of lagging behind. Bakugo landed and lifted Midoriya over his shoulder, then slammed him on the concrete. Bang! Ugh! Midoriya bounced off the earth, waves of pain radiating throughout his very being. I can't hit. Bakugo's palms lit up with sweltering heat. Without waiting, he slammed his palm directly on his body. Midoriya blocked with an arm. Boom! A loud explosion resounded, with Midoriya's body flying out of the smoke cloud. He crashed, bounced off the earth, and crashed against it before coming to a sliding halt. Silence engulfed the arena. Ha! Ha! Save for Bakugo's light pants. He didn't say a word, watching Midoriya's unmoving body for a while before snorting. That is the difference between us, you. His words stopped abruptly. Exclamations rang through the stadium. He's moving. He's getting back up. Midoriya pushed himself upright, trembling like a newborn fawn. Blood trickled from his busted lips. His broken fingers dangled. His chest rose and fell in shallow, ragged breaths. But he stood. A collective hiss rippled across the stadium. That's not normal, someone whispered. How is he still moving? That should have put down a pro. Uraraka clasped both hands over her mouth. Deku, please, stop pushing yourself so hard. Beside her, Ida's jaw clenched. Midoriya. Your resolve is admirable. But. Kirishima felt chills crawl down his spine. Man, he's so damn tough. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. This is dangerous. He's holding himself together through sheer will. Anna swallowed, hugging her arms. This is too much. How is he? He shouldn't even be conscious. Yuta didn't answer at first. His eyes were locked on Midoriya, expression darkening. This is worse than I thought. He's pushing one for all past its limits again. Even with Izuku's insane pain tolerance, his body can't sustain many more hits like that. If Bakugo keeps landing direct explosions. If he could see this, others could as well. Midnight. Do I stop the match? Cementos uttered through the comms. That Midoriya probably thinks, Recovery Girl will heal me anyway, but I don't think his body can take much more of this. At this rate, he probably won't be able to fight in the next round even if he wins. Midnight frowned. Worse. This could cripple him if it goes too far. Even present Mike hesitated, voice shaky for once. Folks, Midoriya is somehow still standing. That's right. He's back on his feet. This match isn't over yet. He uttered, only to meet Aizawa's deadpan stare. Mike. What? Bakugo's reaction was nothing like theirs. He stared. Chest rising and falling, not from exhaustion, but from something far more volatile. Confusion. Frustration. Anger. Something deeper beneath all of it. What? What is wrong with you? Bakugo muttered. Midoriya lifted his head, sweat and dirt dripping from his chin. He breathed, I'm not done yet, Kaken. Bakugo's eye twitched. He took a step forward. Why? Bakugo spat, voice low, dangerously close to cracking. Why do you keep standing? Midoriya's lips trembled. Because. He panted, there's something I have to prove. Bakugo froze. Midoriya looked up, eyes burning with an earnestness that hit harder than any punch. That I can walk this path too, Kaken. Even if I fall 100 times, even if it breaks me. His hand flickered with rainbow streaks of energy. His good leg lit up with the same glow. I will keep trying. I won't stay behind you forever. The arena went dead silent. No cheers. No gasps. Just tension. Raw and heavy. Bakugo's face twitched. Something inside him snapped. You damn nerd. Boom. Energy condensed in his palms. He blasted straight upward, carving a fiery spiral in the air, then curved down, a meteor wreathed in explosions. Stay down. Midoriya braced his legs, power crackling and fracturing the stone beneath his feet as he blasted forward. Midnight. Cementos instantly reacted, slamming his hands onto the cement. If they keep going, it'll be bad. In the arena, numerous walls of earth shot upwards. Stop them. Midoriya blasted forward. Bakugo descended like a meteor. The walls of concrete erupted between them, 5, 6, 7 layers thick. Boom. The collision was cataclysmic. A massive explosion of light and force detonated at the center of the arena, swallowing everything in a blinding white flash. The shockwave hit the stadium like a physical wall. Spectators screamed. Hands flew up to shield faces. The entire structure groaned and shuddered. "Get down," someone yelled. Dust, debris, and smoke billowed outward in a massive cloud, obscuring the entire battlefield. These kids are going to get themselves killed. Or kill us first. For 5 long seconds, no one could see anything. Then, slowly, the smoke began to clear. The arena was a wreck. Cementosa's walls had been obliterated, reduced to rubble and craters. Scorch marks scorched the concrete in jagged, overlapping patterns. Chunks of stone littered the field like a battlefield. And in the center stood a figure in a half-torn uniform. Bakugo stood, hunched forward, hands braced on his knees. His breathing was ragged, chest heaving. Sweat dripped from his chin, and his hands released wisps of smoke. "Damn you!" But he was standing, eyes fixed on the figure in the distance. Deku. Outside the boundary line. Midoriya lay motionless. His body was crumpled against the far wall, unconscious, arms scorched purple. His hero costume was torn and scorched. Blood trickled from his forehead. The stadium was silent. Not a single sound. Until Midnight's whip cracked through the stillness. Midoriya Izuku is out of bounds and unable to continue. Her voice rang across the arena. The winner is Bakugo Katsuki. The crowd exploded. Cheers. Gasps. Applause. Shock. But Bakugo didn't react. He just stood there, staring at Midoriya's unconscious form. His fists trembled. "Damn it, Deku." Medical bots rushed onto the field, surrounding Midoriya immediately. Bakugo turned away, shoulders tense, and walked toward the exit tunnel without another word. In the viewing area, Uraraka's hands were still clasped over her mouth, eyes wide and glistening. "Deku." Ida stood rigid beside her, fists clenched at his sides. "He pushed himself too far," Ida said quietly. Even knowing the consequences, he refused to yield. Kirishima exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. "Man, that was brutal. But Midoriya's got guts. I'll give him that." "Yeah, but he lost. And he's gonna be out of commission for a while." Azui nodded, expression somber. "Rib bit. Recovery girl can only do so much. His injuries were severe." Todoroki said nothing. His arms remained crossed, gaze fixed on the arena floor where Midoriya had fallen. He gave everything he had. His eyes narrowed. And Bakugo still won. Uraraka wiped her eyes quickly, forcing a shaky smile. He'll be okay, right? Recovery girl will fix him up." "Of course. Midoriya is resilient. But he will need time to recover." Ida glanced toward the exit tunnel where Bakugo had disappeared. That match was more than just a fight. In the Class 1B viewing area, Monoma leaned back in his seat, arms crossed, a bemused smirk on his face. Well. Class 1A really does love their dramatics, don't they?" Kendo elbowed him. "Shut up, Monoma. That was a serious fight." "Oh, I know." Monoma's grin widened. "Which is exactly why I'm saying Class 1A are absolute freaks." Tetsu nodded slowly, still processing what he'd just witnessed. "Yeah, those two went all out. That final clash could have hospitalized both of them. Pony tilted her head, voice soft. But, they're both okay, right? Midoriya-san looked really hurt. Kendo sighed. He'll recover. But that was reckless. Both of them were. Shiozaki, seated quietly near the edge of the group, clasped her hands together in silent prayer. May they both heal swiftly, she murmured. Monoma glanced over at her, then smirked. Well, Shiozaki, it looks like you've got your work cut out for you if you want to win this thing. Shiozaki opened her eyes, expression serene but resolute. I will do my best. With faith and humility. Kendo nodded approvingly. That's the spirit. Tetsu grinned, punching his fist into his palm. Yeah. Show em what Class 1B's made of. Another student from 1B leaned over, glancing toward the general studies section across the stadium. At least her next opponent isn't as much of a monster as those two, he said, nodding toward Yuta. Monoma followed his gaze, eyes narrowing slightly. The general studies kid who beat Todoroki and Bakugo in the cavalry battle. He tapped his chin thoughtfully. Don't underestimate him. He's got something up his sleeve. Kendo raised an eyebrow. You actually sound serious for once. Shiozaki glanced across the stadium, her gaze settling on Yuta. Akutami Yuta. She exhaled. I must remain vigilant.
And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going, plus it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.